that mean I get to hit my gavel again?
Yes.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Sunshine Ordinance Task Force, City and County of San Francisco. Special meeting, January 30th, 2014 at 4:06 p.m. We have a quorum of 6. And
Roll call.
let's start with roll call.
On the call of the roll.
I almost said Madam, it's Mr. What do I call you? Mr. Clerk?
Yes, that'll do.
Mr. Clerk, okay. Thank you,
Yes.
Mr. Clerk Victor Young.
This is the meeting of the Sunshine Ordinance Task Force for January 30th, 2014. The time is 4:05 p.m. On the call of the roll, Member Nee.
Here.
Nee present. Member Washburn.
Present.
Washburn present. Member Pilpil.
Present.
Pilpil present. Member Sims. Sims absent. Member David, I did receive an email from Mr. David. He cannot make it today due to child care issues. Member Highland.
Present.
Highland present. Member Oka.
Present.
Oka present. Vice Chair Fisher.
Present.
Fisher present. I would like to announce that we did have more items on today's agenda, but there was continuance requests, and I did remove 3 additional items due to a continuance request.
Okay, thank you.
And can you call Member Grant?
Yes, I was just going to say, Chair Grant.
Oh, my apologies. Chair Grant, I was informed by Chair Grant that she could not make today's meeting.
Okay, well, I did a quick, let's check to see who's actually here. Item number, or file number 13033 is... I don't normally take public comment on absences. Thanks. We'll get to that, but for now, we're not taking anything out from the floor. Do I have Barry Taranto here today? I do not. I see I have Ms. Datesh, and I have Mr. Hartz. So we can't exactly move into item number 2 unless I have a motion from someone to move things around.
To Victor? It wasn't in the packet. I assume that we made the regular notification, so...
The applicants were notified.
Okay.
I mean, the complainants were notified of today's meeting.
Okay. Sometimes it's helpful to have that so they
Yeah.
can't say...
I will be
we-
sure I place
Okay.
that in the file in the future.
Okay. If Mr. Toronto's here, not here, you said we do have Mr. Hartz. Do you want to check on the others?
Everyone's here. Everyone else is here.
So I guess I would suggest that we move up item 4 and wait to see for a little bit if Mr. Toronto appears.
Yeah, I'd like to give him the benefit of the doubt, and then we can decide. Oh, and the Arts Commission is here. I know in the past we've either moved him to the next one, but it's early. Let's give him a little more time. So I need a motion.
I think you can just do that
Oh.
without objection, unless someone wants to move it.
We're going to move item number 4, 13034, in place of item 2. Any objections? Okay, seeing none?
Public comment?
That is correct. I will take public comment. I can take public comment.
Thank you, Roberta Boomer. Speaking on behalf of the MTA, this is the second time that this matter has been before you, and the first time it was before you, Mr. Toronto was not here as well, so I would request that, out of respect for my time, that you set a time certain so that I'm not here until the very end of the meeting. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Members of the Task Force, Ray Hartz, Director, San Francisco Open Government, and I'm kind of noticing a pattern that is developing.
Point of order, Madam Chair. Should we not be taking the jurisdictional question first?
We haven't even,
2034. Or are we still on public
we're
comment?
still on public comment.
My apologies, sir.
The idea that someone who happens to be first on the agenda this should be continued or something else is not responsible. And I say that because, as I said earlier, or started to say, I've noticed a pattern that has started to develop. I was in Florida visiting my 85-year-old mother and my sister, and I got back to find an email saying that my case I had been notified that a case that I had coming up was going to be dismissed unless I responded within 5 days, and obviously the 5 days had already expired. I do not believe that it is good public policy to tell a complainant that unless you respond immediately, then we're going to dismiss your complaint without any further discussion. I do not see that attitude with the city, where the city doesn't respond within their 5-day window to a complaint that is filed with them. They take their sweet time, and I have yet to see anybody say that the city's case the city should then be given special treatment. These cases should proceed until such time as the defendant, or excuse me, the complainant says, I don't want to continue, or we were unable to contact him. It is not due process of law to simply say to somebody, if we don't hear from you. Now, the second thing is, from this board's own history, your commission does not start on time very often. You are often late as much as a half an hour. And I do not think it's unreasonable to assume that some members of the public don't bother to say, I'm going to show up at 4 o'clock because I know they're going to start at 4 o'clock, when they know the history is much the opposite and they're much more likely to start later. So continuing this item would be, I think, a miscarriage of justice. I think it should be allowed to continue to move to another point on the agenda until such time as it is very clear the person is not going to be here, and then at that time, continuing it to a future date would be appropriate. Given, and this is especially important, I think, given that this agenda is so light and the task force is so far behind on cases. I have at least 5 cases now which I filed last year and are all past the 45-day limit. And as a result, you can't arbitrarily just start saying, well, we're going to put 3 cases on an agenda, and if one of them doesn't show up by the time 4 o'clock comes, we're going to take it off the agenda.
Hello, my name is Jason Grant Garza, and I too have a public comment in regard to what Mr. Hartz was saying, and I agree with him wholeheartedly on all of this. I also have had, IDRs and stuff out for quite a long time and have not been handled correctly. My answers have not been responded to. My requests have not been responded to. And so I really feel that at this particular point in time, to not give the complainant, the maximum latitude given the nature of this body and its past failures. Oh, and by the way, didn't the complaints used to be heard afterwards in the agenda? So that's also been changed. So, there's been a lot of things that have changed. It's just an interesting thing, when we talk about due process, when you said that the special meeting stuff was sent out, when was it sent out? Was it last week? Was it the week before? Has it been out for a whole month? I was never notified that there was going to be a meeting of the task force. Fortunately, I look at the website. I think that needs to be answered, because once again, the devil is in the details.
Thank you. Okay. Jerry, you can just jump into item 4, right? All right. Oh, wait. Any more public comment?
No, this is just kind of blinding us, so...
Oh, sorry. Any more public comment? Seeing none, I'm going to close public comment, and let's move on to item number 4, file...
Item number 4, file number 130.
I'll put my glasses on so I can actually see. 13034, go ahead.
Complaint filed by Ray Hartz Jr. against Thomas Mizuko, Police Commission for allegedly violating Sunshine Ordinance 67.15D, public testimony, thereby abridging or prohibiting public criticism.
Member Mead, did you have a jurisdiction question?
Not a jurisdiction question, but obviously it's the matter we need to take up first.
Member Nee?
Member Need, do you want to make a motion?
Move to find jurisdiction.
Okay, thank you. Can we call that passed without objection? Everybody agree?
Any public
Public comment.
Oh, for heaven's sakes. Sorry. Any public comment to that motion? That motion specifically?
Once again, my name is Jason Grant Garza, and yes, I do have a comment on that motion specifically. I've read your bylaws and everything else, and it says that at all times, for example, the chair must be at the meetings. I don't see the chair. I see the vice chair.
You're talking on whether we're accepting jurisdiction. These
Yeah,
acts
this
you're
is,
talking about.
sorry, thank you. This is regarding,
Federal public.
this is public on jurisdiction for this item only.
Well, and that is my point. I think you're constituted as a full committee to be listening to this. There isn't a full board here. You don't have the jurisdiction to do it.
Thank you.
Is there any further?
Any further public comment on this motion? Seeing none. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to hear the case. We're going to start with the respondent. Oh, sorry, the complainant. It's 5 minutes to make their case. If there's any members of the public that want to introduce facts, they'll do that. He or she will sit down. The respondent will get up to give 5 minutes. Any members of the public that are here that want to introduce facts will be able to do that. And then the task force will discuss it. So that whole intro was as much for you as it was for me.
First, we need to dispose of the motion without objection.
I thought we already did.
We did not.
Crap. Can we pass that without objection?
Question of jurisdiction, I believe the motion was moved by Member Nee, seconded by Member Pilpel to find jurisdiction. I believe, is there any objection to that?
No objection.
There is no objection.
All right, so we are going to move forward with item 4.
B.
What?
4B. If you really want to announce to Barry Toronto, but
I believe Mr. Toronto just walked in the room. Yeah, we are going to take you next because we just started on the item after yours. So have a seat and we'll get to you. Okay, Mr. Hartz. As the complainant goes first, you have 5 minutes.
Members of the task force, I'd like to just very briefly cover some things that are in your packet, and I hope that all of you have had a chance to review. This case is specifically against Thomas Mizuko as the president of the Police Commission. Mr. Mizuko, in my first meeting at the Police Commission, sat up there and told me, oh, you're not allowed to talk about certain things, and he was found in violation by this task force for that. I subsequently found out that Mr. Mizuko is a practicing attorney. He is a former prosecutor. He has a law degree, and I think it's fair assumption that he understands the First Amendment, the Brown Act, and the Sunshine Ordinance, especially given that he has been through the training 7 times. Now, what Mr. Mizuko likes to do is when he can't stop you, he will then try to interrupt you. And he has done that on several occasions at the Police Commission, telling me, oh, you're doing this, you're doing that, and that's against our rules or whatever, all of which I honestly feel he had absolutely no justifiable basis for, and I told him that, and then he backed down. In this latest case, I went before the Police Commission, and I had read a report that was put out by the Office of Citizen Complaints, and I made a comment which is included in your packet where I talked about the fact that 10 years ago the civil grand jury had done a study of this, and et cetera, et cetera. And I basically said this is really something that is meaningless for people who actually have to participate, who have filed a complaint with the OCC against the police department. And I ended up my comment with a quote from Macbeth from Shakespeare. This is a tale told by an idiot, full of sound and fury, signifying nothing. I had been very careful to say that what I was talking about was the report, because year after year they come up with a report that has a lot of statistics in it which really tell you nothing. Now, one of the members of the commission, Mr. Sturman, Commissioner Sturman, got my comment, because his comment was, well, I don't understand, I don't know about the quote from Shakespeare, but Mr. Hartz has a point. After I had finished comment, Thomas Mizuko jumped to his feet and yelled, "You can't insult the member of the OCC, the director, you're doing this and you're doing that." In other words, he accused me of doing something which I don't feel he really knew, he knew I was not doing. And I think it is nothing but an attempt on his part to abridge public comment by intimidating people. In fact, the way the whole thing went down, I was intimidated, and you know me, it takes a lot. I haven't been back to a police commission meeting since then. The bottom line is abridging public comment is not simply limited to saying to someone, I'm going to stop you from making the comment, or I'm going to interrupt you in the comment. It is, I think, including an atmosphere where you set an example that others will see, where if you get up and say something they don't like, they will do something to malign you. And this is a pattern I've experienced. I think all of you remember that Jewel Gomez, the president of the Library Commission, actually went to the police department regarding one of my public comments and said I had threatened her. She was later quoted, and this was posted on the library's website, and these are her words, not mine, saying, "I know 12 people who could fucking bury him." So basically what happens is if you make public comment and they don't like it, and they know that you know the Sunshine Ordinance enough not to be cowed by that, now they start to do things which I think the effort is to set up a thing where they can say, well, Mr. Hartz is unreasonable, therefore he shouldn't be allowed in City Hall or to attend public meetings. Now, the last thing I'll say here is that Inspector Monroe, who is the Secretary of the Police Commission, is here to represent Mr. Mizuko. And I'll tell you right now, Mr. Mizuko is not here because he is an attorney and he knows what he did was wrong. He didn't come the last time either. And number one, I think it is really dishonest for someone like him, who is an attorney, to use, or in this case, abuse the power of his position and then send somebody else to try to represent. So I would like you to also consider not sending a knowledgeable person, because the inspector, no matter how good he is, cannot answer for Mr. Mizuko for his own behavior.
Thank you. Oh, not so fast, Inspector. Do we have any members of the public who will get 3 minutes each to introduce any facts and evidence in support of Mr. Hartz? Okay, seeing none, then, Inspector, if you're still back there, as a respondent, you have 5 minutes.
I'm simply going to submit my written response to Mr. Hart's complaint in just a couple of comments. I won't take up most of the 5 minutes, but regarding the comment that Mr. Hart made, a tale told by an idiot of sound and fury and signifying nothing. A tale can't tell itself. So that was directed at Ms. Hicks. I was there at that meeting, and I saw that. I also submitted, as an exhibit, a DVD copy of our Wednesday, May 8th, 2013 commission meeting. And also, Mr. Hartz had completed his 3 minutes of public comment when he got up there. So he wasn't abridged. Commissioner Mizuko did not cut him off. He was allowed to say what he had to say in his time limit, and he basically told you what he said, and that was a direct assault at Ms. Joyce Hicks for OCC, and I'll submit that.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
So now, are there any members of the public that want to introduce facts or evidence in support of Inspector Monroe? Seeing none, I will turn it over to the task force members, and we'll start with Member Nee.
Mr. Hartz, please. Just a quick yes or no question. You heard the inspector say you were allowed to complete your remarks. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Inspector, please.
Yes.
You said that Mr. Hartz's remark was directed at Ms. Hicks. Did he actually name Ms. Hicks?
He did not, but he glanced in her direction. And again, when you make a statement...
I did not look at him, that's a lie.
When you make a statement, and I'll again repeat it, a tale told by an idiot. Well, the tale doesn't tell itself. Somebody told the tale. He looked at Commissioner Mazuka and he glanced over at Ms. Hicks, and I was there at that meeting.
Okay. One further question.
Sir.
One further question, sir. Can you tell us why Mr. Mazuko is not here to represent himself?
I'm the respondent. I'm the police commission secretary. I'm the respondent for all the commissioners in acts such as these.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Member Popo?
Two things. I would note that we've got Roberta Boomer here for the MTA board, so it is not unusual for the commission secretary to represent the commission. That's occurred many times before. I'm just wondering out loud, I don't want to take more than 3 minutes to discuss it. If we have the DVD here, is it possible to view it, and is it worth viewing? Would that be probative evidence? Are we able to do that? I have not seen it, so, again, I don't want to debate it for more than 3 minutes, but if we can, it may help us. I don't know.
While we're getting that set up, Mr. De Garza, I'm going to remind you, under 6714, you have the right to record proceedings. You do not have the right to sit there and make commentary over that or disrupt proceedings. I'm hearing you all the way over here, and I know the people at the stand are hearing you. Consider this your first warning. If you cannot be quiet and record, you'll be escorted out. Am I clear? Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for your answer. That's that.
Thank you, Member Hyland. And on that note, I'll repeat what I was told yesterday at the assessment appeals hearing. Any conversation in the gallery, try to keep it to a minimum because it really does bounce over and back. So thank you, Member Hyland. Mr. Clerk, that'll show up on our screens.
I assume this is worth doing.
Other questions while I queue this up?
Yes, I'm happy to defer.
Yeah, this Member Washburn, and then we go Member Sims.
Through the
and then I'll go
chair.
this side.
Through the chair, I have a question for DCA Cola. He wrote the
Memo.
our memo, so he had the opportunity to review the footage. So what drew my attention were the time markings. And it looks, I know we're going to see it, but I just was interested to know whether, I'll hold off on that.
Okay. Can we forward to that point?
I'd like to call roll, Mr. President. President Mazuko. Vice President Marshall. He's back on his way forward.
There were two.
Commissioner Chan.
Present.
Commissioner Kingsley. Commissioner Turman. Present. Commissioner Loftus.
Here.
We have a quorum, Mr. President. Also with us this evening is the Chief of Police, Gregory Sir, and the Director of OCC, Joyce Hicks.
Thank you very much, Inspector. Observes the suspect go through a backpack on the sidewalk.
I think it was actually 3 hours.
Observes the suspect go through a backpack on the sidewalk. As the suspect sees Mr. Arend, the suspect then starts to leave, leaving the backpack
Suggests it's only a
behind.
2-hour.
Thinking on his feet, he grabs the backpack, our evidence, and continues to follow the suspect.
The influential activist who helped me to connect with Commissioner Loftus, I do believe that my kit would still be outstanding. So I don't really want to go on any further, but I wanted to draw this concern, and it's a concern for me. It's a concern for the welfare of our whole city.
Thank you, Ms. Marlowe.
Where does it refer to the timestamp?
Thank you for your courage in coming here tonight.
Page 14.
Commissioners, Ray Hartz, Director, San Francisco Open Government. I want to thank Commissioner Chan for making this additional opportunity. Following 4 hours of presentation in which the presenters and the commissioners get unlimited time to make comment and ask questions, those of us in the public only get 3 minutes, and we have to do triage and talk about the items that we feel are most important. Unfortunately, what that does is it gets us labeled as being negative people who only focus on things and who want to simply make people look bad. No, it's the fact that one thing is more important and the other is not. First, on the mental health issues, I would like to make an official...
Was it actually the
Sunshine
comment on the
Ordinance
OCC
in California
Director's Report? Was it a different agenda item?
Records request for a copy of the handout that Commissioner Chan gave to the other commissioners.
This is it?
So that I can be available with that. On the crisis intervention training update, I appreciate that greatly because I've been here on at least 3 occasions where discussions were made about funding ways of substantiating what went on.
Comments now closed on line item 3A. We're going to take a brief recess before we move into line item 3B. Thank you.
That's the end of this DVD.
Because I think justice delayed.
At every possible opportunity, stop your criminal list. Let's get on this, and that would be
A misdemeanor vandalism case where the jury wanted DNA.
grant money. The NIJ has given over a walk being organized by SF War. So we'll have a very methodical from the ASAP program is negative. Somewhere around 60.
CIT is to strengthen.
And we've reconciled some of those.
Well, this seemed like a good idea. Maybe it turns out that...
California has very patient.
Some interest to participate.
Thank you.
It's funded and very fair, very even-handed, and of course with Greg as our chief, you know.
Yeah, sure.
And the times that I gave my medical match up.
That's true.
If you would like to continue with other testimony,
Yeah, where did we leave off? We had Member Washburn, and that's the DVD. Who else?
Sims.
And who was next? Member Sims? Did you have your hand up?
I have a question.
Member Nee? Nope.
Member Washburn's question was still pending. I don't...
Well, I was interested in this
The DVD.
segment where Mr. Hartz was speaking for 3 minutes, and it looked like he may have been interrupted towards the end of his 3-minute time. So I was just wanting some more information based on what you observed. But if we're going to be seeing it momentarily, then I'll wait to see it myself, along with everyone else.
Victor, sfgovtv.org. Right. Seems like a good idea.
Excellent.
If complainants or respondents have evidence such as this that may be useful to the task force, it would be great to bring it and queue it up and have it all ready so we're not like hanging out like this. But
My comment is that this was submitted by the police department. It is in your packet, and if you did not review it, that is not the fault I have. It is the fault of those who chose not to look at all the evidence.
Was not provided to all members.
Until 5 o'clock. Some people come at now, because people come at 5. Jump forward to another one, please.
Here we go.
Is he getting anywhere on this? Because I'll call it. If there's a...
Not moving. Can you get it?
Looking at the one for the next one. This is what one wants.
That's planning.
What's the date?
That's planning. We want to go to police.
Queuing up the next one.
I think you need to click through.
If I might, I'd just like to apologize for not queuing it up, but we brought the whole DVD because we didn't want to be accused of leaving anything out. So that's why we brought the whole meeting. So I just want to apologize for that.
Looking through it. All right. May what?
8/8.
It'll be at the end of 3B.
It's at the 3 hour and 17 minute mark?
3 hours, 17 minutes.
I believe member Pilpel's correct. You just click on 3B, and that'll get you there. Or close.
Should.
About it. I don't know much about it.
Good evening, President.
Is a little bit due to the client raised this condition. Chief, at some point, can we be briefed on what our...
Possibly 1 minute to see the spots.
Actually, city attorney were, I think...
And there's a way to make that full screen.
We can see that because it obviously it's been in the New York Times and Wall Street Journal, and first and foremost, client's been very concerned about it. We gotta get a report on this. If there's anything else? When do you think we can have an idea how to see
bit more volume on it?
Can you make it full screen?
All right, ladies and gentlemen, public comment regarding light items 3, B, C, and D. B, C, and D. Commissioners, Ray Hartz, Director, San Francisco Open Government. I've only had the Office of Citizen Complaints 2012 annual report since yesterday, and I haven't therefore had the time to examine it with the intensity that I shall apply in the future. I will, however, make one comment on tonight's presentation. This is completely OCC-centric. It's about their caseloads, their this, their that. And as usual, because I've reviewed 4 prior years' concerns, there's absolutely nothing to tell how citizens who file a complaint with the OCC feel they were treated or what they experienced. In other words, it's all focused on what the OCC thinks, and as far as the people who participate in using the OCC, there's nothing. And I can tell you, after my experience in 2007 and the one I've talked to you numerous times about this year, I would never see any reason to file a complaint with them unless I needed to do so to meet the legal requirement to file a civil case in court. It's a pointless exercise, nothing but frustration, and done in a star chamber atmosphere where you're not allowed to know anything, especially the officer can say anything in their talk with the investigator, and you're not even entitled to know what they said. So far, I see this as nothing but a Potemkin village on paper. Going forward, I will combine the information from this report with others and my own experiences interacting with OCC. I will also make use of other reports such as the 2003 Civil Grand Jury Report and the 2003 San Francisco Controller's Report, along with other materials I have available. In the decade between the 2003 reports and 2013, the changes, in my view, have been nothing but cosmetic. I don't know about you, but I'm looking forward to future discussions. To sum up my initial reaction to this report, I think it is appropriate to use a quotation from Mr. William Shakespeare's Macbeth. It is a tale told by an idiot, full of sound and fury, signifying nothing. Mr. Hartz, we don't call anybody an idiot in this chamber. We have respect. Mr. Hartz, there's a sense of decorum in here. We were laughing and fooling around before. You don't refer to anybody. The OCC.
Who was I directing it at?
You do not.
Who was I directing it at?
The report.
Who was I directing that quote from Shakespeare at? You said you don't attack a person. I didn't attack a person. I read a quote from Shakespeare. How is that an attack?
Okay. All right. Mr. Turman. All right, go ahead.
I think although I thought the report is OCC-centric because it's about reporting the data and the information that comes out of the OCC, but although I was a little surprised by the quote, I will say Mr. Hartz perhaps does have a point that perhaps after 5 years we could add in, not for this report, but on a separate sort of document or something, some type of end of the process evaluation to see how people are feeling about the process at the end of the year. And that is something I would be interested to hear how members of the public are perceiving how their whole interaction with the OCC, the outcome of that. And I think that is a valid point raised by Mr. Hart.
And sort of a customer satisfaction survey?
Something along those lines, yeah.
Director Hicks?
Yes, Commissioner Turman, and I'm glad you raised that issue. The OCC since late 2011 has been sending customer satisfaction surveys out with its preliminary disposition.
So I'm going to go backwards. Let me make sure Member Washburn, Member Pilpel, if you have anything in that order, then we'll go to Member Sims. So Member Washburn, you're first. Going in the opposite order. Member Pilpel?
I'm good.
Member Sims?
Okay. And I want to apologize to the complainant and the respondent for my tardiness. I did have a question for the complainant. So let me you were, essentially after that quote, you were done, correct? You did have, it sounded like you might have had some seconds on the clock.
I had time on the clock, and he started his comment, which I considered a personal attack against me, before I had finished.
Mr. Hartz, you also turned in your statement, and that would signify that you were done.
No, I was done reading the statement.
Right, but you then
You turned it in.
Member Highland, oh, we'll get to you next.
Yeah. But he's right. You did turn in the statement, as in that was the end of your speaking time that you had done. You were done. But you never. And I'm just trying to clarify. Do you answer one question? Maybe you don't.
I wasn't given the chance to decide whether I was done. I was immediately attacked. I was immediately accused of making an attack on the director of the OCC, and I don't know what you. I know some of you don't like me because I'm in your face type of guy, but I'm not a stupid person. Mm-hmm. And there is no reason for me to attack Director Hicks. She is a very intelligent person, a very capable person. I like her very much. She is very personable. And very honestly, I'm not stupid enough to attack her with no basis. To make just some, I think this is basically a comment that Mr. Mizuko took as an attack because that's the kind of thing he would do.
Well, no, maybe you're misunderstanding what I'm, I guess, asking. I'm trying to get at, in what way was your statements or public comments abridged? And I'm trying to figure out and work through how and why they were truly abridged.
If you get up and make a public comment and then somebody immediately says, "You're a liar," is that an abridgment of your comment? Just because you finished, does that give them the ability to say anything? Now, Mr. Turman made a legitimate comment. I didn't say anything about him, didn't file a complaint against him. He said, I have a question about his comment, but he does have a point. And that's legitimate response. But accusing somebody in public of insulting someone when you have no basis for it, I was very clear if you read the statement. Mm-hmm. I was talking about the reports and subsequent reports, all the reports I've seen in the last 10 years, not all of which were presented by Director Hicks, have all been the same way.
But do you understand that words can have multiple interpretations, and it is a fair, at least in my view of this case, it's a fair interpretation that you made could go both ways, in the fact that interpreting your statement as not specific to anyone, not calling anybody idiot, very benign in your nature, or the alternative side of the spectrum, actually attacking someone and actually calling someone an idiot. And in which case, his response was appropriate in the fact that he felt you were attacking a person.
What his feelings are and what the facts are two different things. Mm-hmm. Did I, something was said, I looked at her. Well, for heaven's sakes, what are we doing public comment? I made a comment as a quote from Shakespeare, and I didn't want to edit. I wanted to use the full line because I don't think Director Hicks actually wrote that report. I think it was written by her staff. And it is simply a self-report on themselves saying, we do good.
Well, I mean,
and he can take it any way he wants, and he can make a legitimate comment, and just like Commissioner Turman did, mm-hmm. He can say, Mr. Hartz, I took that the wrong way, but to stand up and say, you don't have the right, you are attacking this person, mm-hmm. is across the line.
But once again, your statement was done. I do not feel that he abridged you to the extent that it violates the ordinance. And don't get me wrong, I don't believe that your statement was to the extent the secretary has made. I don't believe you looked at him and he felt threatened or somebody felt threatened. I don't believe that. But I do believe that Mr. Mizuko's response was into his belief that your statement, your final statement, and it was not an abridgment, was crossing the line of a personal attack. And you believe,
So,
Mr. Azuko,
if I accuse you of being a liar-
wait, I'm going to finish.
Okay.
And as well as you believe Mr. Mizuko's comment was an attack on you. So, I mean, it cuts both ways.
I think
And I mean, go ahead, I'm sorry, I yield the rest of my time.
I think what we're seeing here is I don't think technically
Is this what you wanted?
there's anything that we can help you with on this. I think this is a combination of cumulative experience, feelings between you and Mr. Mizuko that came out this way. Was his response appropriate? I'm not sure about that. But I think your statement was complete. You turned in the paper. Should he have said what he did when he did? Perhaps not. But I'm not sure we can help. I'm not sure that falls within our jurisdiction.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
What's to prevent him in the future of doing the same thing over and over again and then simply saying, Mr. Hartz makes comments that are not appropriate and he should not be allowed to attend it? Because he did cite the mayor's policy regarding personal attacks. And I think he insinuated, if not basically indicated, that he thought I made a personal attack. That's a charge. That's not simply he disagrees with what I said or anything else, which are legitimate comments under the Sunshine Ordinance. It was an actual, you did something which is violation of policy, and he did it in front of God and everybody.
Yeah, I agree with you. I don't think it was personal attack. I think it was a quote about the report. I saw it that way. And if that is brought against you in the future, I hope you will, and I'm sure you will, bring that back to us or whatever body would look at that, and we would protect you in that case for your free speech and your sunshine rights. But I think as we have to kind of rule on the merits of technically was there a transgression here, and I don't see it. That's just me.
Member Washburn?
Yeah, this is a tricky one. It was helpful to see the actual video. And it all happened very fast at the end. And so when I read the account of it, I was envisioning Mr. Mizuko actually interrupting what Mr. Hartz was saying in the middle of his 3 minutes, in which case that would have been a clear violation of the ordinance and a definite abridgment of Mr. Hart's First Amendment rights to address the body. But looking at the video, it wasn't, again, it happened so fast. It wasn't clear to me that Mr. Hartz was being interrupted. And it looked like he might have been finished what he had to say, and he was given a chance to say all of what he had to say. In listening to what Mr. Hartz said, I didn't think it was a personal attack against anyone. Granted, I know Mr. Hartz well after all these years, but no, I don't think any reasonable person looking at that would have thought that Mr. Hartz was personally attacking anyone. But given that there was a history there, maybe his remarks were taken the wrong way. And I think that the shouting down of him was over the top. And then Mr. Hartz became upset, which is understandable. This is a hard one. So was Mr. Hart's First Amendment rights abridged? And I'm tending to think that they weren't, but boy, if he's ever prevented from speaking because it's thought that, you wouldn't like what he has to say, then boy, I hope he comes right back here.
Not to make light of it, but quote Shakespeare in the middle of your statement, and then maybe you'll get interrupted.
Or maybe choose a different quote that's just as
It's a good quote.
clear. Yeah, this is a good one.
It's not incendiary. It's such a well-known quote that I don't think anyone could possibly take that as a personal attack.
Member Pilpel?
So in reviewing briefly here the Good Government Guide, pages 126 to 131.
Are those the sections cited?
Not specifically, but that's the section on rights of the public at
Okay.
meetings, including public comment, time limits, content, procedures, et cetera. Having now watched the video and hearing the discussion, I think we need to bear in mind, and I don't want to belabor this because we've already spent a fair amount of time on this, the public has the right to comment, including to criticize programs and reasonably to criticize people and their conduct, reasonably so. The members of a body have an obligation to hear that comment. They need not respond to it. Much public comment in this city and in the world is not responded to. I think if a member of a body chooses to respond, they should do so in a measured way, but they can respond, in my view, to something that they consider over the line, and their individual comment, I think, is just as protected in their right to do so as the member of the public's right to comment and criticize. So this concept of criticism being legit, I think, works both ways. If you want to be able to criticize people from one side, you need to be able to take a certain amount of criticism in return. The question then becomes whether either side is over the line in harassing or discriminatory remarks, or something else that's clearly beyond the scope. Without getting too deep into setting a standard, I think in this instance, it hasn't been shown that the response by the Mr. Mizuko to Mr. Hartz's comment was over the line, was not over the line, and that both individuals exercised their rights reasonably, and that there was no abridgment or, what was the other term? Abridgment or prohibition of Mr. Hartz's comment. And I agree with Member Sims and Member Washburn and Member Highland that it appeared that Mr. Hartz had concluded his public comment, and there clearly was a reaction from President Mizuko, but it didn't seem entirely unreasonable under the circumstances. That's my view of the matter. Thanks.
So I have two more questions, one from Member Oka and then one from me, but go ahead, Member Oka.
Okay. Having read the transcript of Mr. Hart's comments and hearing Mr. Mizuko's response, I believe that we as public officials, and in our role, we are public officials, and we are held to a higher standard. And if we don't conduct ourselves, and I think the way Mr. Mizuko sounded, in my view, it was inappropriate. I would never, and I've been attacked in many venues that I've sat as a public person, and I choose not to respond to that. We don't have to respond to it. As a matter of fact, if I'm so angry about something that happened, it's better that I don't say anything, because I'm going to regret what I say next. Okay? That's the way I am. I'm just hoping that others use good judgment and common sense. And I don't see enough of that from our public officials these days. I'm very disappointed, and I think, in my view, Mr. Hartz has the right to say what he says. I don't think that same right stretches to us. It's our job to listen, make appropriate comments, and in the case of individual commissioners who choose to speak out against criticism of the body, that should be done by the chair of that body, through the chair of the body. That's been my training. It's always worked for me. I don't like attacking people in public. It doesn't work for me.
Thank you, Member Oka. I have one last question, and it's for Mr. Hartz. And I can see you fine.
Sure.
I'm just drilling down. Early in your statement, you made a comment about, I haven't been to a commission meeting since then. And I'm the most detail-oriented person you could ever meet. I'm drilling down. Have you not gone to meetings because you were told you couldn't go, or you haven't gone because your own reasons?
I did not go because I was afraid.
Okay.
When we left City Hall, they were all standing outside, and I had Mr. Mizuko approach me physically, and he had to be held back by the chief of police. And I took that as a threat. And very frankly, I wanted this all on the record so that this pattern that I've mentioned before is very clear. I think Mr. Mizuko will in the future, when he doesn't like my comments at the police commission, use this kind of an effort to keep me from making public comment. And as I said before, it's already happened on several other occasions, and I'm going to talk about it in general public comment. I was removed from the Board of Supervisors chambers in handcuffs. I had a complaint filed against me by the Library Commission president for something I said, and she said it's a threat. And I think it really is an issue about the fact is, do the citizens of this city have to be so careful about what they say that is an actual restriction on their First Amendment rights? Do they even have to be careful not to look the wrong way or make the wrong face for fear that will be used as an excuse to intimidate them?
Thanks. So do I have anything else from any members of the task force? Okay, so next on the item, we will hear 3 minutes each, first from the respondent, that's Inspector Monroe, and then Mr. Hartz will get 3 minutes as the complainant to offer rebuttals and conclusions. There you are. Thank you, Inspector.
Thank you. Just one short one. Mr. Hart talks about the knife, or one of the members talked about the knife cutting both ways, and it does. And when I was here giving my initial comment, Mr. Hart called me a liar. So he abridged my comment at that point. But he's here today to say that Commissioner Mizuko abridged his when it was clear he was complete. He handed me his statement after that and started to turn and walk away. And basically, that's all I have to say about that.
Thank you. You ready, Mr. Clerk, the timer? Okay.
I'm forgetting we have this timer here now. Ray Hart, Inspector, San Francisco Open Government. Right now I will apologize to Inspector Monroe. When I used the word liar, it was not directed at him. It was directed at Mr. Mizuko. Mr. Mizuko does not have the moral integrity to show up and explain himself why he did what he did, why he felt it was justified. It was the same thing when he told me I wasn't allowed to talk about things. And very frankly, I think any person serving on a board or commission in this city who is willing to use the authority and the power granted them by that position and yet will then refuse to come and deal with an issue when someone feels that they have had their rights violated, basically does it for one of two reasons. In this case, I think Mr. Mizuko, being a practicing attorney, a former prosecutor, knew full well that what he did was doubtful at best. Now, I don't have any problem with the discussion that the board held, this task force held today. I know it is a touchy subject, but I wanted it on the public record that Mr. Mizuko engages in this kind of behavior, so that in the future, if I come back here, it's not going to be, gee, you know, Mr. Hart's da-da-da-da-da. It's going to be, look, this happens again and again and again. And the man just seems to want to find a way to stop public comment with which he doesn't agree. The very first meeting I went to with the police commission, he sat up there, looked me in the eye, and said, "You can't talk about this." That was a lie. If you're an attorney, you know that's not the truth. If you've taken sunshine training 6 or 7 times, you know that's not the truth. If you're familiar with the Brown Act, you know that's not the truth. And yet he sat there, looked me in the eye, in the eye of the public, and said, "You're not allowed to talk about certain things." And as I said before, he's tried it on several other occasions. And I'm getting a little sick and tired of him trying to use his position to shut me up. And I've watched him do it to other people. So the bottom line is, this is on the public record, and now I feel comfortable that I can go back to the police commission, and they will be on notice that if they start to do what they're doing again, that I will be right back here. Now, that doesn't mean that the very first time he did it, he's treated it as a joke. He thinks your finding was a joke. He thinks the task force saying that he violated my rights by telling me I couldn't speak about certain things was a joke. And I think the fact that he's not here tonight thinks this whole process is a joke.
Okay. Do I have any motions from anyone? We have 2 options here, a motion or no motion. Not yet. No motion?
Madam Chair, I'm not going to make a motion, but I do have a comment. I don't know if this is the appropriate time or after public comment, but I do have some thoughts on this.
I think now's the time.
Yeah, go ahead.
The only reason that I'm not making a motion to find a violation is that Commission President Mizuko made his remarks, made his protest to Mr. Hartz after Mr. Hartz had finished speaking, after his 3 minutes time had expired. Had Mr. Mizuko interrupted Mr. Hartz, he would definitely be in violation of Sunshine Ordinance Section 67.15D. And I want to make this respectfully through Inspector Monroe. Commissioner Mizuko should be put on notice that he needs to be aware of that. You know, even if he didn't violate the ordinance per se in this particular matter, if Mr. Hartz's characterization is true, where Mr. Mizuko or any other commissioner continually intimidates people, continually cuts them off, continually protests what they're saying, and having the effect of creating a chilling effect, dampening public willingness to come forward and comment on matters before the commission. Maybe it's not sunshine, but it's violation of the First Amendment and could be, you know, there are other avenues for redress on that, perhaps much more serious than what this task force can mete out. Again, respectfully, through Inspector Monroe, Mr. Mizuko should be made aware of that.
Thank you, Member Nee. Okay, so hearing no motion, I am going to declare this matter What? Would you... I got it. Hearing no motion, I'm going to declare this matter concluded, and I'm now going to take public comment, as it says here on my list. Hearing no motion, I'm going to allow public comment, and then I'll do something else after that. This is public comment on this matter. That's correct, DCA 3, that is correct. Public comment on this matter.
Excuse me. Paula Dadish, I think you didn't consider a few things. Firstly is the Good Government Guide, the section of the mayor's memorandum that talks about the speaker feeling harassed or intimidated in any way. And the fact that Mr. Hurst didn't go back to any meetings after that was not a good sign. He obviously felt intimidated. We don't know what happened in front of this building, but certainly if that had happened to anybody else, they would have kind of freaked out about it, and that's not good at all. So I think it's a good sign that he's come here today and put it on the public record in case it happens again. And also there's the fact that he had an order of determination for almost an identical thing previously.
Thank you.
Okay, I've been patiently waiting for public comment on this particular matter, and I cannot begin to even hold down the feelings that I have when it comes to this commission here and what you've just allowed and the harm that you've done to Mr. Hartz. First of all, I believe that Mr. Monroe told quite a porky pie when he said and looked at you directly and said, that he had looked at either Mr. Mazzullo or Ms. Hicks when he made that comment. And it was obvious on the video that he was reading. There was no way, but that was an extreme porky pie that was allowed by this commission in full sunshine. Mind you, in full sunshine. To let him say that and to skewer what Mr. Hartz was saying, to poison the well. Not a single one of you picked up on that. It's amazing. It's on video, and it's on my video what he said. Now, the other amazing part is that Mr. Mazzullo is not here now. Everybody was bent out of shape because of what Mr. Hartz said, educating us. The most civilized society, the grand beacon that we sit on a hill here, full transparency, full sunshine. And everything else, and Mr. Monroe, basically said that, and yet at the same time, Mr. Hartz didn't look at anybody, didn't accuse anybody, didn't use anybody's name, but when Mr. Mazzucco directly attacked Mr. Hartz, it was personal. He used his name. But none of this seems to matter because you know what? We're looking for an excuse for a person who's repeatedly done this, according to Mr. Hartz. The Ministry of Sunshine, to obscure what is the truth, what should be noticed, what should be held, and what should be important, so that, yes, Mr. Monroe, in his wonderful capacity, could come up here and say, like I said, that porky pie, but Mr. Mazzuzzo, who said directly what he had to say, can't be here to be questioned as the most knowledgeable person in this. No, he has a proxy speaking for him. Is he channeling for him? Wow, I really wonder. But I can tell you a lot. This is not due process. As a matter of fact, speaking about due process, there isn't a full board here. Where's the other 4 members? Look at your bylaws. You don't even enforce that. You guys are so much of a farce. I can't even begin to tell you. And in this last decision to take no action, yes, I hold you guys to a higher standard. Just like I would Mr. Mazzuzzo. But unfortunately, he has you to cover his back. Isn't it wonderful here at the Ministry of Sunshine? Thank you. Enjoy. Have a nice day. God bless.
Good evening, Task Force members. Thomas Piccirillo. Shakespeare wrote another book, Much Ado About Nothing. And with all due respect to Mr. Hartz, his complaint had no basis. under the Sunshine Ordinance. What will happen now is that this complaint will incentivize Police Commissioner Mizuko to continue making comments after public comment. So I think Mr. Hartz did a disservice to members of the public in bringing this meritless claim. But I am disappointed the task force that spent 75 minutes in reaching this conclusion that the complaint by Mr. Hartz had no basis in fact. Thank you.
Thank you. Inspector, no, you're one of the respondents.
I'm just asking.
Yeah,
Okay,
no,
thank
you can't.
Okay, thank you.
Do I have any other public comment from anyone that was neither a complainant or a respondent? Hearing none, public comment on this matter is closed. And this matter is concluded.
This item is concluded due to a lack of motion.
Thank you. So, Mr. Clerk, can you call item 2? Let's go to, I'm sorry, item 3. I meant item 3.
Item number 3, public comment. Members of the public may address the Sunshine Ordinance Task Force on matters that are within the Sunshine Ordinance Task Force jurisdiction, but not on today's agenda.
As a reminder, this is public comment for items not on today's agenda.
And we're limiting it to 3 minutes.
And we're limiting it to how many minutes, Mr.?
3 minutes.
3 minutes.
Members of the task force, if you look at your screen, you're going to see a quote from October 22nd Board of Supervisors meetings from the president of the board, David Chu. As I was recognized as the next speaker, I was approaching the microphone, and I decided to start my comment immediately because there were 2 deputy sheriffs standing around Mr. Peter Warfield, who some of you know, and I felt that the heavy-handed use of the sheriff in the Board of Supervisors chamber is getting unacceptable. So as I was approaching, and I don't think there's any requirement that, he said next speaker, I was the next speaker, and I was walking up to the thing. You can see it if you look at the October 22nd general public comment. I said Gestapo very loudly, and then when I got to this microphone, I got that. So here we have the president of the Board of Supervisors, a lawyer, Harvard Law degree, and he thinks that he can just basically strip somebody of their First Amendment rights. No discussion, not with me, not with the other members of the Board of Supervisors, no chance for appeal, immediate execution, and he directed the sheriff's deputies to lay their hands on me, to handcuff me, and remove me from that meeting. I think he did it because I had sent to all the members of the Board of Supervisors a summary of what I was going to talk about, which was again, I've talked about here several times, the Library Commission, and the fact that between 2000 and 2013, they allowed the Friends of the Public Library to raise over $60 million in the name of this library and the name of the citizens of this city, and none of those folks provided any oversight for that money. But the bottom line is, this is what I'm saying is the pattern that is developing. If we can't shut you up, if someone will take you to take them to the task force and have them found in violation and then come back to a later meeting and say, well, I know I can't enforce this because the Ethics Commission will, cover your ass, that doesn't mean I can't come here and call you out on it. And that's what I was talking about with the last case, too, was the simple fact that that's a pattern now. People are actually fighting back, and they're actually using what they're getting from other bodies in this city to make us look bad. So now we will look for other excuses to shut them up. You try having the police department investigate you for a year and hold on to the records for a year and 3 days to avoid the statute of limitations, and see if you don't think it's intimidation.
I want to speak on another form of just exactly the same thing. It's a type of intimidation that the Arts Commission has used for quite some time. I'm not really sure how long. At these street artist meetings, for some reason unknown, they pay a cop, a full on-duty police cop, to sit in the meeting. I don't really know the reason why. They call it a sergeant at arms. I've heard bits and pieces that they want to ensure the safety of the commissioners or the safety of the general public when it's a mechanism to eject people from meetings for no reason whatsoever. It happened to me. I clearly saw that these meetings are not televised. They're recorded on a simple little handheld tape recorder, and there's no video recording of it. So what happened to me was I saw a meeting clearly run out of order, so I called them on it a couple times. I tried to explain. They didn't want to be bothered, and they just, I believe it was Howard Lazar or Commissioner Chu, who snapped his fingers, and the cop escorted me out of the building. No reason was given for it whatsoever, so it's a misuse of power. And I don't believe the street artists have any say in the matter as to how their money is being spent. I think it's $3,000 a year. And it's been going on for quite some time. Thank you.
Okay, once again, my name is Jason Grant Garza, and my battery is really running low, but I want to say this real quickly during public comment. I have several outstanding IDRs that I went to the administrator a week ago to follow up with and did not receive the services. I was actually denied the services. You know, I have made many comments to you people here telling you about how rigged your procedure is. You've not said anything during my public comment, and then when I went to follow up with the administrator, I was denied access and accommodation, and he turned and walked. I asked him to send out a drone or a robot to answer my questions so that I would be entitled to due process in Sunshine, or as I refer to it, the Ministry of Sunshine, so that there would be transparency and everything else, and that naturally failed. Now, I'm expecting no response once again, but I will let you know for the record, and for as long as this battery can continue to, take film so that I can post on YouTube to continue to show the rigged methodology, because there is no response. There is no correct procedure. There is no correct follow-up. These IDRs were since September. They've been now labeled 14,000 series. You're only up to the 13,040 series. There's going to be another 3 months before my case is even heard. What about the 45 days? Oh, that's right. I can't get these questions answered when I go down to the clerk of the board's office to meet with the administrator. Of course not. And he can't send out a drone or someone else. But I don't expect you to answer, but I do expect you to stand there in silence, confirming what I'm saying all along about how rigged all this is, how much you don't care, and how much it doesn't matter. And please be aware that I will continue to videotape and post on YouTube this farce, the Ministry of Sunshine. I have a minute and 13 seconds for you guys to stay in there and not say anything. Please, I will go ahead and use the entire time up. 1 minute, 6 seconds. 1 minute, 5 seconds. And you are supposed to be the bastion for Sunshine, to show that people can get their rights heard and things can happen correctly, and you don't even follow your own policies or anything else. Thank you. For your silence is golden. It's here on YouTube. The Ministry of Sunshine. They ought to have a sign above your door, all those who enter this hellhole lose all hope, because you will obscure everything, not give people what their rights are. And trust me, I will continue to point it out on YouTube. So enjoy. We've got 23 more seconds. I didn't expect a response, but I also don't expect one next time I go down to the clerk of the board, either. But that'll be on YouTube also, to show that nothing is run appropriately and no one is accountable, which is what I've said all along. 5 seconds, 4 seconds, 3 seconds, 2 seconds. Thank you.
Thank you. Do I have any more?
I'm Speaker Rello. Let me just say that I'm disappointed on the lack of attendance tonight by the task force members. And I think it'd be a good idea that when a member is absent, that there'd be some kind of record as to why. I think your bylaws, my recollection is your bylaws have provision for excused or non-excused absences. So there should be some kind of record as to why the members are not showing up. As you know, a couple of years ago, you had a coup here, and you changed the entire composition of this task force. Clearly, the new members should be attending these meetings. This is a special meeting. You'll have 7 members here tonight. You know that it takes 6 votes to get some kind of approval or some kind of violation of the sunshine that's been alleged. So you're making it very difficult for complainants to prove their cases. So I urge you to urge your colleagues to start showing up and doing a better job. Thank you.
Thank you. Do I have any other public comment? Going once, hearing none. Okay, Mr. Clerk, can we move to come back to item 2?
Item number 2, file number 13033, complaint filed by Barry Toronto against the Municipal Transportation Agency for allegedly violating Sunshine Ordinance 67.15A, public testimony, thereby censoring and abridging public testimony.
Did both parties accept jurisdiction?
It's a new item.
Was that a yes? Okay. On the appeal?
So I have to make a disclosure on the record, and that should be recorded in the minutes under the Campaign and Governmental Conduct Code. I have had a personal friendship relationship with Mr. Toronto. He was my camp counselor when I was a young person at summer camp, long ago and far away. So you can blame him for everything going wrong with me. But I don't believe that will bias my position in the matter. And so I just wanted to state that on the record, and it does need to be included in the minutes. I think it's under 3.214, 3.216, something like that, in the Campaign and Governmental Conduct Code.
Thank you. I'm speechless. Okay. So you knew Mr. Toronto at Camp Itchy Scratchy or whatever, and
Camp
that was a long time. Okay.
Jewish summer camp. And
Mazel tov.
yeah, thanks.
Okay.
And I think we need a motion to find jurisdiction.
Madam Chair.
Member Nee. Please save me.
Continuing disclosure, I have a long acquaintanceship with Mr. Toronto. At one time, we were both members of a journalists organization. I'm still a member of that organization, but I do not believe that will prejudice me in this case.
Okay, thank you. Well, we're certainly among friends. Go ahead, Member Washburn.
I move to find jurisdiction.
Oh, okay.
Second.
Okay. So now it's public comment, right? Okay. I will now ask for, but not yet, Mr. Toronto, public comment from anyone on jurisdiction only. Hearing none, then the complainant gets 5 minutes. What?
Then we need to say we'll take it without objection.
Oh, I'm sorry. We're going to take that motion without objection? Okay, seeing none, Mr. Clerk?
There is no objection to jurisdiction. We can move on to Part B of item number 2, hearing on the complaint.
Okay, so same kind of thing. The complainant will get 5 minutes to make his case, and then the respondent will get 5 minutes to make her case.
Yes. All right, good evening. I really am thankful and gracious that you're hearing me tonight on this issue. And Victor has been nothing but helpful and informative about everything. I am sorry I'm late. I think I'm going to get a parking ticket as a result of this, so I'm being punished financially, considering that I would not be here today except the cab industry is going downhill and being destroyed bit by bit, including the fact that I won't be able to afford the ticket unless I go to food pantry. Unfortunately, I will have to go to food pantry in order to get food because of the parking ticket. But that's not beside the point. The point is that I thank you for doing this, and the reason I filed the complaint is because the cab industry is getting less and less of an ear, even before the body that's supposed to oversee the taxi industry and is making lots and lots of money off of the taxi industry. And the case involves the fact that I sometimes I will occasionally sever some items from the consent calendar regarding parking and traffic issues. They are heard, some of them are heard at a separate hearing, but at 10 o'clock in the morning on a Friday. And that is very difficult for me to attend, considering I'm a night driver, and I barely get up before noon on any day in order to keep that schedule, in order to be awake and keep my passengers safe, even at 3 or 4 in the morning. So I severed. The problem is the MTA on their consent calendar puts a lot of bunches under one item. Different parking and traffic changes, and and you can sever each item under that. However, Chairman Nolan has been compassionate at times, understanding that I can talk all of them under one public comment rather than taking separate public comment on each item. And I asked for him for 3 minutes, or I asked him for what time I need, and he has been more than gracious to give it to me. More than gracious. In fact, Bruce Oka, who was a commissioner at the MTA, should know full well that more than one occasion, Chairman Nolan has granted me that. Well, he was not present at this meeting, and Cheryl Brinkman has shown, maybe not by her words, by her actions and her votes, that she hates cab drivers. She despises us because of the conflict that sometimes arises between bicyclists and cab drivers. I have noticed this on multiple occasions, and it's really disheartening to see that I had asked for a full 3 minutes because there were 3 items. 2 of them were related, so 2 of them could have fell under a 2-minute rule because they were related to the issue of putting parking meters out here over on Franklin and Gulf Streets and McAllister, which, if you notice, a lot of the time they're empty. So it's a waste of money to put them. But anyway, I'm not arguing that with you. The other part of it is that they wanted to eliminate being able to make a left turn at Embarcadero and Green, where the ships come in, the cruise ships. And I said this is going to be a problem for the cab drivers, and to have access to the cruise ship terminal. However, I felt they were separate items, and yet, when I brought that up to have the full 3 minutes to discuss it, the commission's secretary chimed in and said, no, they're all under one item. But they're separate subjects. So it's not my problem that the MTA board decides they're going to put the agenda items under one consent calendar listing. And even though each topic can be different, you could have like 3 or 4 items that are the same area topic, and then you all of a sudden under like letter D or F or W or AA, it's a whole separate area. So this is really what it's about. It's not about the time limit. It's about the fact that for the judiciousness of time, I talk about everything all at once, but giving me 3 minutes. Now the commission secretary, who I really thank for being here. She's done a great job, but it's not her job to make these decisions, and she did chime in. However, and she said I got everything all under the 2 minutes, but I felt censored. I felt a chilling effect by the fact that all of a sudden she yells at me and says, no, only 2 minutes for all 3 items. And I felt disheartened by that. And it's a chilling effect on the cab drivers who have no other place to go to raise our concerns. And we can't always go to meetings at City Hall. We have to work late at night, or their daytime drivers have to be out there working to make a living. It's tough for us, and it's getting worse and worse, and the MTA board has not helped. So I ask for guidance on this issue. Thank you.
Thank you.
Guidance you shall have.
Okay, so now we have the respondent.
Were there any?
I'm sorry. Any members of the public who want to issue any facts and evidence for the complainant? Hearing none, I will invite the respondent, who has 5 minutes to make her case.
Good evening. My name is Roberta Boomer. I'm the board secretary to the MTA Board of Directors. The Administration Code, Section 67.15C, states that the policy body may limit public comment on agenda items to less than 3 minutes per speaker based on such factors as the nature of the agenda item, the number of anticipated speakers for that item, and the number and anticipated duration of other agenda items. Just for the record, on June 4th, the meeting lasted for 4 hours. There were 14 speakers for item number 9, general public comment. Routinely, the chairman, the board, sets a time limit of 2 minutes. That is standard. In addition, we had 26 speakers. We had a full room that day for a piece of legislation, oversized vehicle legislation, which was very upsetting for members of the public who live in oversized vehicles, and they felt that their homes and their livelihood were being threatened. We had a number of those people who spoke who were in tears. A number of them had to leave before they could speak because of 26 speakers at 2 minutes each, and that section started an hour into the meeting. You know, when you're waiting for 3 hours, you know, it's difficult. So there was a very big item on the agenda later on. Let me go back to Mr. Toronto's allegation. Consent calendar items are considered to be routine, and they're acted on by a single roll call vote. And that is standard. Mr. Toronto is aware of that. Now, before he called the item, he asked that the items be severed. He was the only speaker for those items. 2, as he represented, were the same thing: parking meters in the vicinity of Franklin and Goff, McAllister, and Fulton. 1 had to do with establishing a no left turn. These consent calendar items, and there can be very many under this, are all subject to a previous public meeting, all of them. And notwithstanding Mr. Toronto's sleep schedule, members of the public are allowed to come to that meeting to make comment and to get information about what was going on. So at the time that he was called, before he arrived at the podium, and if you had a chance to see the video, you would see that as he's approaching the podium, he asked for a staff presentation on the item. Mr. Toronto is well aware that consent calendar items, there are no staff presentations on those items. The procedure is, when an item is pulled from the consent calendar, the person who pulled it is asked to address the board. And then sometimes, not always, the chairman asks staff if there is a response. There is not always the case. So there was a discussion between the vice chairman, who was acting as chair, and myself about what was allowed. He did make a request for 3 minutes. He was given 2 minutes. Now, Mr. Toronto alleges that he was yelled at him. I did not yell at him and say no, neither did the chairman. So now, if you look at his comments, it is rather disingenuous for him to say he didn't have enough time. He spent the first 25% of his time talking about how he was going to dispute the time limit and how he was going to, quote, waste my time by bringing me before you today. At that point, he moved on to his public comment on the item with regard to the no left turn. He said it's very tough for cab drivers when cruise ships are in, and he requested that cabs be allowed to make the left turn. With regard to the parking permit area, he said that the parking meters were unnecessary. Mr. Toronto completed his comments before the timer went off. Seconds, but he was able to complete. He had ample time to make his comment, notwithstanding, and he would have had more if he hadn't disputed in the first place. So he did have plenty of time, so I respectfully request that you consider that. That concludes my comments.
Hold up. Hang tight. All right. Do I have any members? Oh, thank you. Do I have any members of the public who want to introduce facts and evidence in support of the respondent? Do Hearing none, I'm going to open it up to the task force members. I believe I saw Mr. Pilpel's hand go up first. Let me look on this side. Go ahead.
So, Mr. Toronto asked for some guidance. Guidance you asked for, guidance you shall receive. I think other than Ms. Boomer, I'm probably the person who's been to more MTA board meetings than anyone through the history of the MTA, perhaps including Member Oka. So I have a lot of history with that agency and that board. I have previously made motions and found that the MTA board did not provide adequate public comment under particular facts and circumstances. In this case, though, I don't think that that's true, and so I want to be clear that I look at these things on a case-by-case basis. I think, and I was going to try to articulate a proposed standard here, that in terms of the amount and nature of public comment, that this body should not arbitrarily dismiss the judgment of a policy body or the chair of a policy body absent a showing that the regulations imposed for public comment, either the time or the manner restrictions, were unreasonable. So, and I'm not going to say manifestly unreasonable. I think that's too high a standard, but I think if we find that they are unreasonable, we should set them aside. If we don't find that they are unreasonable, we should grant deference to the body to conduct its business, trying to balance all of the competing aspects of the public's time, the need to get business done, the need to get it done in a certain period of time, in this case 4 hours, et cetera. So under the specific facts and circumstances, there was Mr. Toronto was the only person who severed items from the consent calendar. The 3 items severed were called together. As Ms. Boomer just indicated, Mr. Toronto was able to make comments on all 3 items within the 2 minutes allotted. It seems to me reasonable under the circumstances, had there been multiple items, like more than 3 on a disparate set of topics called, that might have required more than 2 minutes. That wasn't the case here. And I would also comment to Mr. Toronto that there are other opportunities to comment on proposed parking and traffic regulations. The Friday hearings, which occur at least 2 weeks, I think at least 3, probably at least 3.5 weeks before an item goes to the MTA board, and certainly comments can be made to the MTA board in writing, by email, by fax, by carrier pigeon. So there are a variety of ways at any time of the day or night to make comments known to the MTA board, which sometimes does inform, well, certainly informs the process and sometimes changes a decision. I would say, granted, not always, but it's not like oral public comment is the only manner of addressing or communicating to the MTA board. So my conclusion is that there was no violation in this instance, but I'm not giving either side, a permanent pass on these things. I think we look at it on a case-by-case basis. That's my view. Thanks.
Member Oka, you're raising your hand.
Having been a member of the MTA board,
MTA guy,
and having had Mr. Toronto come before us many, many times while I was a member, Ms. Boomer is correct. Mr. Toronto always begins his comments by complaining about the amount of time that he gets to speak. If he wouldn't do that, he could get a lot more said. And I must say that I think when things like this come up, and I've said this to members of the disability community who think that their disabilities should allow them to come later and participate when they arrive. It's my view that, if the issue is important enough to you, you change your schedule to be there. That's the way I do things. I've always done them that way. And I don't think that spending time complaining about the amount of time that you get to speak is really worthwhile in all cases. And having sat through dozens and dozens of meetings, both on the Tax Commission and the MTA Board, not to mention others, I would think that I'm ready to listen to all the comments and make my decision based on what I hear. But, it seems to me that the MTA Board has made concerted effort to get every member of the public the access to public comment whenever requested. At least that's my view of what happens at board meetings. And now I get to watch the board meetings at home. Member Nee?
I just want to clarify something in my own mind, and either Ms. Boomer or Mr. Toronto could answer this for me. The three items on which Mr. Toronto wanted to comment, was Mr. Toronto the only one who wanted to speak on those three items? Okay, Ms. Boomer has indicated yes. That's all I have.
Anyone else? Members Sims, Washburn, Highland? Okay, so now we're going to move into, we've completed our task force members' questioning. And the respondent first come on up. You got 3 minutes to offer a rebuttal and conclusion, and then we'll hear from the complainant for 3 minutes. You come up, even if you say I have nothing to say. This is your 3 minutes.
Nothing to say.
Or you could filibuster us if you want to.
Thank you for saying that.
Filibuster is always an option. Get you some sneakers. And now we'll bring the complainant. You have 3 minutes.
Good evening. I want to say, how do I file a complaint against one of your members? He said always you complain about the amount of time. Where does he have that proof? I could bring in tapes of all my public testimony of the MTA. Always is a very strong word. I have a journalism degree from USC, and the word always is a pretty strong allegation, and I'm pretty upset. One of your members, I want to do disclosure, I have filed numerous Ethics Commission complaints against Commissioner Oka for interfering with staff jobs at MTA, among other issues. I take this to heart. What he just said is slander and blasphemous, and I think it's negligent for what he said. So all I have to say about that, but I want to say that it's disturbing to hear him say that. Very disturbing. I could say why he said this stuff, but I'm not going to use that because this is not the jurisdiction to do that. But I want to say the issue is whether the MTA should have a policy of bunching different items under the consent calendar. Many times I've waited till the end of, not many times, a number of times, I have waited till the end of the MTA agenda before consent calendar or public comment occurs. It does not always occur early in the meeting, even though it's listed in the agenda early in the meeting. So we have to wait sometimes 3 hours before consent calendar items appear for discussion. And the thing is, she did say about the 26 speakers and everything, but sometimes I have had to sit and wait and listen to all these people speak their 2 minutes each time on the same agenda item. I'm the only one who severed the agenda items. And they were different topics, but they listed them under like 10.2 A, B, C, D, E, F, G, but they're different subjects. So that is the question I have before you, whether it's okay for them to just want to call the same item. Yes, the Board of Supervisors have called two separate items altogether for people to speak on, but they were on the same topic. They were on the same actual subject. Okay, yes, it's a parking and traffic change, but one was by Civic Center and was over by the port, you know, by near Fisherman's Wharf, on the way to Fisherman's Wharf. It's different, totally different subjects. So that's where I'm bringing the direction to you about this issue. And the thing is, the consistency of the commission to have a policy about this, rather than to change it from one person to another, where the person can arbitrarily make that decision. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Madam Chair.
Member Neal.
I have one more question for either party. The items that were pulled from the consent calendar at Mr. Tornado's request, were they acted on separately or in one fell swoop? In other words, you had item 10A, 10B, 10C, 10D. Were they acted upon in a single motion or separate A, B, C, D?
Item 10.2 is for traffic modifications, of which there can be many, and they are routine. When the board votes, and they are part of the consent calendar, so not only do you have that item, but you have other items on the consent calendar. And those items are all acted on by a single vote. In this instance, it was a single vote. After the items were severed, those 3 items, it was one vote.
Thank you.
Okay. So do I have a motion from anyone on the task force? No motion. And what I learned from my last item, I'm going to offer public comment for 3 minutes per person on this item only. Anyone other than the respondent or complainant may speak. Come on up.
Got it. Okay. I just want to remind you that at the last full task force meeting, there was a similar issue, but in a grander level. It was James Chafee who questioned public comment at the Board of Supervisors meetings, and you voted to give people the opportunity to give public comment at the end of each action item.
Thank you. Any more public comment? Hearing none? No good. Mr. Hartz, come on up.
You should know by now.
Come on up, Mr. Hartz.
Ray Hartz, Director, San Francisco Open Government, and there are a couple of comments that I would like to make. First, almost the totality of the testimony given by the respondent was all based on their rules. They didn't really, at any point I could tell, address the Sunshine Ordinance and what the Sunshine Ordinance requires. And that's what you're here to look at. I think there is a pattern of movement toward 2-minute comments everywhere. And very frankly, I don't think it would be that long before it will go to 1-minute comments. If I understand all of the laws, the Brown Act and the Sunshine Ordinance and so forth, the understanding is these laws are meant to be interpreted to provide the broadest opportunity for the public to comment and to participate in the meetings. And if you read the Sunshine Ordinance, it says speakers will be given up to 3 minutes. Now, who gets to decide that? It's a constitutional right. Does the government get to decide, no, you don't get 3 minutes, you get 2? And if that's the case, what's to say they can't say 1 or 30 seconds or 15 seconds? Nothing. I think if you're going to read these correctly, you have to read it to understand that it's up to 3 minutes, and I take that to be, if I get up and want to talk for 30 seconds, I don't have to talk for 3 minutes, I could talk for 30 seconds. But because it's my First Amendment right, I have up to 3 minutes. And I should be given those 3 minutes because, as I said, and I said this before in prior meetings, as soon as the Board of Supervisors went to 2 minutes for general public comment, I said, you watch. Other boards will start to do 2 minutes. Your body has even started in cases to do 2 minutes. And where does that stop? The bottom line is we're trying to get people to participate in government, not to restrict them from participating. And what you do is you cut it down, and sometimes it is done without notice. I think all of you know that I sit down often with my public comments because I fought so long for the 150-word summaries to ensure that what I said was what I clearly meant, and I submitted the summary so that what I meant got into the official record rather than being censored. Free speech is an important issue. And if I came prepared to talk for 3 minutes and you tell me I now have 2, I have to do it on the run. And going back to this particular case, if you cut down and say I have 3 minutes for 3 items, now I have to choose. And the simple fact that I don't use all my time doesn't mean I didn't have more to say. It simply means that I just did the best I could under unfair circumstances.
Thank you. Is there any more public comment on this item? Okay, hearing none. Public comment on this item is closed. And Mr. Clerk, can you close this item?
There being no motions, the matter is concluded.
So I am going to suggest it is 5:57 p.m. We are going to take a 10-minute break to 6:07. Everybody okay with that?
Should we just keep going?
We're going to take a 5-minute break. Yeah, where? Oh, let's jam right now. Oh, not a problem.
Could be worse.
Well,
I think you're going to say something.
I love that. Okay, hang on. Let me get my thing. Okay, all right. I'm going to reconvene the January 30th meeting of the Sunshine Ordinance Task Force at 6:06 p.m. 1, 2, 3, 4, we have our full quorum. Mr. Clerk, catch us up to where we are.
Item number 5, file number 13036, complaint filed by Paula Detesh against Howard Lazar Arts Commission for allegedly violating Sunshine Ordinance Section 67.16 minutes and 67.9 agenda and related materials, thereby excluding material for public disclosure and failing to post meeting minutes.
Move to find jurisdiction.
Thank you. Second. I got a second for Mr. Oka. I'm going to declare there is nobody left in the gallery except for the complainant or respondent, so I am going to not ask for public comment. Can I do that, DCA? Or do I? Okay. Yeah. For the record, there is nobody in the gallery. Therefore, there will be no public comment. But if anybody came in, we would have it. Is that good enough? You have a question? We have a question on jurisdiction. Member Pilpel?
To Ms. Patterson-Murphy. It was hard to tell what was alleged here, but in particular, the minutes of the body. Can you just help me with that for a moment? It wasn't, to the extent that it was the full Arts Commission?
No.
Okay. If I can just address Ms. Patterson-Murphy on this. Thanks.
Okay.
To the extent that it was the full Arts Commission, that's clearly subject to the ordinance. To the extent that it's the Visual Art Committee, that's a subcommittee of the commission. To the extent that it's the Street Artists and Craftsmen Advisory Committee, that was created under the admin code. I couldn't tell if the body that was largely being complained of was actually subject to the ordinance or exists in some other manner? Can you just give me a sentence or two on that so I can get through jurisdiction?
All of our subcommittees are subject to the ordinance, as far as I know, and that is according to our city attorney, Aideen Vera.
Okay, and you believe that Ms. Detesh's complaint relates to a subcommittee of the Arts Commission?
My interpretation of her complaint, in the first part A of her complaint, refers to the full Arts Commission.
Okay, that's enough for me on this. We'll get into the merits. Thank you. I'm good.
So I want to make sure we got through everything. We're just going right to the
Is there any objection to finding jurisdiction?
Hearing none, I guess we can pass that without objection.
And then on the merits?
And then we will hear the complainant for 5 minutes.
Okay, there are two parts to the complaint, 13036. The first part deals with a street artist meeting held on March 13th, 2012. And I was in the hospital at that time. The documents were forwarded to me 2 days before the hearing. You have my narrative in front of you, which talks about the fact that I noticed them that I was in the hospital. I made some phone calls. They weren't answered. They answered the emails acknowledging that I was in the hospital. And I'm basing that on Section 67-7-1, Public Notice Requirements, Section C. Notice informs the public at a public meeting that notice shall state that persons who are unable to attend the meeting or public hearing may submit to the city, and on and on. The notice should also state the time and address of the persons to whom these written comments should be submitted. I was in the hospital. I sent a FedEx, which was acknowledged to be received, stating that I was in the hospital. I sent a response to these alleged complaints. It was the first page of the document. I sent it to the Jessica Silverman Gallery, a day advertising, and to the Arts Commission by FedEx, and I scanned it and sent it to 2 people at the Arts Commission who acknowledged that they received it. They certainly knew that I was in the hospital. So I asked for 2 CD audio tapes that were blank. When it posted online, Commissioner Silverman asked, "Where is Paula Dadish?" And Howard Lazar did not answer the question. He said she was noticed to appear. So that clearly is a violation of the public notice requirement. Then my response, which is quite addresses the charges that were levied against me, was not included in the agenda the way they said they would and the way they're required to, because I was in the hospital. They were required to post and notice the commissioners that I was in the hospital. They didn't. And that is the Sunshine Ordinance, and that's Article 24 of the San Francisco Police Code. I asked for an adjournment by email. It's in your packet. And then we move on to the fact that this was an action item. It was item number 4. And this response should have been included in that section. It was not. It was in the first draft minutes. It was included at the end under general public comment, and only a portion of my response was included. That's here at the end. When I was in Pittsburgh, and when I came back, I went to the Full Arts Commission, and I told them, and I wondered, were these commissioners even given my response? I didn't get any answer, but I did tell them that was a violation of the Sunshine Ordinance. Then I want to speak about Section 67-9, Agenda and Related Materials Public Records. Section A, such documents shall also be made available through the policy body's internet site. It was not made available through the internet site. Only when the draft minutes posted was a portion of my response and nothing from the hospital. Put it at the end, at the additional comments by the general public. That should have been again in section 4, item 4, which was an action item. And then there are other things, the usual 6716, the minutes. The draft minutes should be available 10 working days. They were not. The official minutes should have been available 10 working days after they were adopted. They were not. And I also want to note and point out to you that I went to the San Francisco Public Library documents section on the 5th floor, and there's a binder there. It's called Public Meetings Index, which anyone can look at. And that meeting was not stamped in, either the meeting or the minutes. It was not. There are two stamps. There's a circular stamp, and then there's a time stamp. They were not in the thing. Wow, that was quick. I didn't even get to the heart of it.
We'll have questions.
Yeah. The index to records, 6729, at the end clearly states.
Ms. Datesh, that's 5 minutes. You'll have a chance to come back up. There'll be a lot of questions.
Okay, got it.
Don't go anywhere.
Okay.
Respondent, Mrs. Patterson Murphy, you have
Good evening,
5 minutes.
Task Force. Well, since Ms. Dadish failed to get to the heart of the matter, I will just jump right to the heart of the matter, which is that whether or not Mrs. Dadish was or was not in the hospital at the time of this meeting, which is questionable, seeing that she ran into the Director of Cultural Affairs out Walgreens during this supposed period of time while she was in Pittsburgh, in San Francisco, not in Pittsburgh. I would like to just sort of launch right into the complaint at hand, which has to do with how her response was incorporated into the minutes, which is in the response that I prepared for you. And it is true that Ms. Dadish was not at this meeting, and but nevertheless, we did incorporate her comments in the documents, and I provided a link to those documents, and I also included an excerpt from the Ethics Commission meeting from June 24th, 2013, regarding a similar complaint lodged by Mr. Ray Hartz against the Library Commission for not including written public comment in the body of the minutes. And in the excerpt I included in my letter, you'll see that the Ethics Commission concluded that there was no violation of Section 6716 because the written material submitted by the public, even though it appeared as an addendum, was included in the minutes, thereby satisfying Section 6716. So I think that this is an analogous case, and in light of that, I hope that this is actually the second time I've testified on behalf of the Arts Commission regarding Ms. Datesh's accusations about our misplacement of her public comment in our minutes. And this is the second time I've cited the Ethics Commission. So I hope that in the future, in order to mediate ahead of time, that this particular excerpt could be delivered to Ms. Dadish, because I essentially think that it's concluded matter. Now, on to the next item. The Arts Commission,
What do you mean,
which
next
is
item?
the failure to post the minutes.
Okay, so that's
the second part.
The second part of 13036?
Yes.
Okay.
Which is that, yes, at the time we were woefully behind in posting the minutes. Our commission said we were understaffed, and our commission secretary was taking on additional responsibilities of office manager and was also given another committee to write minutes for, and she fell behind. It wasn't that it wasn't a priority for the Arts Commission, but that was just the reality of our situation. All of the minutes have since been updated online. So that concludes my comments.
Thank you. I'm going to open it up to the task force and see if I have anyone other than Mr. Pilpel. No, go ahead, Mr. Pilpel. Member Pilpel.
So to start out here, it's very confusing to follow this. We're on 13036, item number 5. The memo is the first item there. The complaint is the next thing. And then it appears that the materials following all relate to 13040. So Victor, if you could just check the file that the 036 stuff is in the 036 file and the 40 stuff is in the 40 file. I know it's complicated and it's not easy, but I think what we have before us is a bit reversed.
I placed items given to me with the file number into the file requested. I do not necessarily sort to be sure that it actually...
I understand, but I'm referring, for example, to page 51 of the packet, which is titled Sunshine Complaint Number 13040, and later on in the section on
51 of the full
13036
packet?
is, you know, some of the stuff is in the wrong file, and it's just hard to follow this stuff. I'm just saying, I'm not... All right. Aside from that, on the merits of 13036, let me start with what appears to be the Visual Arts Committee meeting of March 13th of 2013. Excuse me, the Street Artists Committee. Apologize. Street Artists Committee of March 13th. And although in her testimony, Ms. Dadish just told us that she was in the hospital and referenced a date in 2012, I believe that she misspoke and meant 2013. With regard to the Street Artists Committee, I believe that is a subcommittee of the Arts Commission, and as such, I don't believe that...
Sorry, my apologies.
It's all right. I'm sure I've taken up my 3 minutes. Yeah, it is. I don't believe that the visual... I keep saying that. I don't believe that the Street Artists Committee is subject to the content requirements of Section 67.16. They are certainly required to have a record of their actions, but I believe it has been the previous advice of the city attorney, and I don't think we have disagreed, although I could be wrong about that, that subcommittees of charter boards and commissions are not required to have minutes in any particular format. And if you read the beginning of Section 67.16, the clerk or secretary of each board and commission enumerated in the charter shall record the minute, and they shall state, etc. That, I think, can and should be reasonably read to mean that the content requirements that follow in 67.16 only apply to charter boards and commissions and not committees thereof. It could have said, and any committee thereof, and it does not say that, and this has come up before. So I applaud the Arts Commission having extensive and detailed comments in the minutes for the Street Artists Committee, but I think that they exceed the requirements, and I don't find that there is a particular content requirement there, so long as there's a record of the actions taken, and it does appear that there's at least that. I don't have a particular problem with the minutes of the Street Artists Committee. I'm trying to figure out where next to go. I'm having a hard time with this in part because we've got the complaint forms for 13036, and I'm having a hard time finding in the pile of stuff here where Ms. Ditesh's initial statement from July of 2013 that accompanied 13036, where that is in the packet. If someone can help me with that and give me a page number, I'd appreciate that.
I submitted 2 documents. They were divided by sections, and in the sections it said complaint, sunshine, emails. It was very organized when I submitted both documents. How they got messed up, I don't know, but...
Can someone give me a page number? That would really help me here.
It's right here. I also submitted the memorandum that the city attorney prepared was confusing also, so I made the corrections and forwarded it to Mr. Young. There it is. Would that help you?
I don't know what it is. If someone can tell me where it is in context, that would be really, great.
me see that.
That's, yeah, okay, we got that. How?
Yeah, I mean, there's
This is-
172
there's-
pages.
Right, I'm looking at page 209 of the packet, which at the top says Sunshine Complaint Number 13036. And then what was just handed to me also says 13036 with the same date, and I'm having trouble finding that here.
When I submitted it, both were very organized. I'd gone through it a number of times.
Okay, I'm sorry,
There
I
were
found it on
sections
page
to it.
237. Okay, so
Okay, I found it.
if you could perhaps pull the binder so you can follow where I am
I
in the
know
page
it
numbers?
I know
Okay.
it by heart.
Great. Can you tell me the difference between page 209 and page 237? Are these both related to
There's no
1303?
numbers on the pages.
Yeah, the binder doesn't have...
No. Okay, you put numbers on these. Okay, 209 and
209 and
237.
237
Okay, these
both
are,
titled 13036. Is one of them incorrect?
okay, there are two complaints included in number 13036. The first one is the minutes of the March 14th, 2013 street artist meeting where I was in the hospital, and I'm basing this on the index of records and the public notice requirements, that they clearly did not put my response anywhere in the document and did not make mention of it at the meeting. The second complaint is the complaint made against the Arts Commission, the Commission's Secretary, Sharon Page Ritchie, for failure to post March, April, May,
That's
and
the next
June
one.
full commission meetings, minutes, in a timely manner. They were finally posted on November of 2013 and not posted in the San Francisco Public Library. So they're two separate complaints under the same complaint number.
Okay. I think I hear that, and I think I responded on the merits on the first part a moment ago. I believe as to the second part, if the minutes weren't required to have a particular content,
That would not be a subcommittee, that's the full commission.
right, and you weren't, I don't believe you were complaining about the minutes of the full Arts Commission.
I was.
Okay.
In the second complaint, page number P209, we have a complaint where I am saying the full Arts Commission has not posted their draft minutes for meetings March, April, May, and June of 2013
Okay.
until November 2013.
Okay, so as to that, I think we might find a violation, and we probably, if we were, wouldn't get a strong objection from Ms. Patterson-Murphy because she acknowledged that their staff was behind, and that was probably part of the minutes where they were behind, and they would probably acknowledge that they had not met the 10-day
But I have not
requirement.
presented this case yet. If you allow me, I will. There's more to it.
I'm not sure that it matters. I think if the facts are plainly evident, I'm not sure that we need to hear much more about
It's an
it.
ongoing issue. It's been going on for years. They're not posted at the public library. That's a violation of the Public Records Index.
Okay, well, that's...
They haven't
The
posted.
agendas are required to be sent to the library. The minutes are supposed to be sent to the library, but they don't get put in the binder. They get put in a different place.
There are no minutes for the entire year 2013.
Okay, well, then maybe that's...
There was a cancellation.
Then that may be a
Which
different
also-
problem, but that's not a sunshine problem. The sunshine ordinance does not require that minutes be sent to the library. That's in Chapter 8 of the Admin Code about records being sent to the library, and we don't have jurisdiction over that.
Agreed. However, you haven't allowed me to present this case. I would have said that.
Okay.
Okay.
Well,
Okay, so every time they're late, which is
Any other
every
questions?
single month,
I think I'm good.
I can be before you with the same complaint. I have,
I think they're up to date now, is what we heard.
No.
Okay.
Well, how
well,
how about
Getting
the
a nod over there.
last month's meeting? It still hasn't posted on their website. I've noticed them that their agendas are late, their meetings are late. I go to the full commission meetings, I politely contest the minutes, I explain why ad nauseum.
Okay,
But
if
if you
it's a
want me
question-
to come here every single time,
Member
okay.
Pilpel?
I think-
Member Pilpel, hold up a sec.
I'm good.
DCA 3.
So I want to caution the task force that when a party is allowed to freely testify with no questions, that calls into question whether there is fairness between the parties in presenting their cases.
Yes.
I'd be happy to hear from Mrs. Patterson Murphy in response, since we've had a bit of colloquy here.
Okay.
Would that address the concern?
Yeah, let's get even time here.
I concur with Mr. Threed. I think that we are going off the rails here, and we should stick to the complaint made in this document, which you all have, or the two complaints, and whether or not we are late in posting minutes currently is irrelevant to the matter at hand, and so I just encourage us to stay on track. And yes, stay on track. Thanks.
Do I have any other questions from any members of the task force? Any other comments? Member Nee? No? No comments over here? Okay. Hearing none, now we go back to respondent. Come on back up. You've got 3 minutes for rebuttals and conclusions. And Ms. Datesh, as the complainant, you'll get the same 3 minutes.
I have, it's Kate Patterson, Director of Communications at the San Francisco Arts Commission, and I am here on behalf of the Arts Commission and Mr. Howard Lazar. I think, again, we at the Arts Commission want to participate fully in these hearings, and we are committed to transparency and open government. But I think that we are frustrated when the same issues are heard over and over again, especially when there has been a ruling by the Ethics Commission, for example, on an identical issue. And so I know I did ask Mr. Threet this question some time ago, but this whole idea of me spending time writing a response and providing substantive evidence that sort of demonstrates where we have complied, and then to again come before this body to hear matters that are to a certain degree ridiculous and I think abusive of the Sunshine Ordinance, and kind of are more are actually harassment of the Arts Commission, and I think an egregious misuse of taxpayer resources. So I know that if the complainant disagrees with the agency's response, then it immediately goes to a hearing, but I just hope that if there's any way to review your bylaws so that you have, as a body, more agency in really resolving these issues before we all spend copious amounts of time going around and around and around about these issues, I would greatly appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Datesh, you have 3 minutes.
Okay, on the first complaint, which was the March street artists meeting, even in the memorandum prepared by Nicola, I'm sorry, I don't know your name, the Ethics Commission ruling was not on point and not even considered relevant in this case, which you just look in the memorandum, you will find that. As far as the voluminous complaints, which again is off topic and doesn't address the 2 complaints before you, we have always the same thing. Howard Lazar cannot read and respond to a simple immediate disclosure request. I get bits and pieces and piecemeals and weeks later parts and parcels. I mean, you should see my email. It's jammed to capacity with a bunch of nonsense. And what I said under public comment during the last full task force meeting and the education and outreach is that it's a pattern that I ask a simple question or ask for documents. If I get something, it's totally off topic, irrelevant, and late. Lazar will not include the PDF, and then Patterson will accuse me of altering public documents, and then 2 days later I'll get something from Lazar. That pattern has repeated 3 times this year. So as far as wasting the city's time and resources, just look at the volume of paperwork this generates. I send one immediate disclosure request to one person, I get something from there, something from there, something from there. None of it corroborates anything, it's just paper. And it doesn't even respond to the immediate disclosure request. With regard to the late posting of the Full Arts Commission minutes, it's not a new thing. It's been going on for years. And I want to add to the fact that at these meetings, they are approving funds for commissions, for public parks, there's sums of money that are being approved. And when these minutes post late, the public does not have the information. They don't have the knowledge as to what's going on with their money. And that's a violation of the task force. And then there's the World Wide Web violation, 6729-2, requiring them to make information available on their website as soon as possible. It should be maintained bi-monthly. And even though the putting notices in the binder of the San Francisco Public Library is not exactly under the thing of the Sunshine Task Force, I'm referring again to 6729, which says they should be made available at the public libraries within the city.
Thank you, Ms. Datish. All right, my fellow task force members. Yes, DCA 3.
So it's not my intention to prolong this proceeding, but I wanted to offer a couple of questions that, if the task force is interested in pursuing them, might further elucidate this matter, because when I reviewed the materials, and I think when Mr. Kola did as well, it was unclear exactly what the nature of this agenda item was. It's possible it was an agenda item that had something to do with a permit that Ms. Datish might hold, and whether she would continue to hold that permit. And if it is that type of hearing, then she's a party to that hearing. So you might want to ask the nature of that hearing, and if it is a hearing where someone is a party to it and they're submitting materials as a party, that could put it in a different category than whether Ms. Datish was making public comment on an agenda item. When members of the public are a party to an agenda item, they're not for that agenda item a member of the public, and they're not offering public comment. And so, these are questions that I don't know the answers to, but might affect your analysis of this issue.
Member Washburn?
Well, let's ask Karen Patterson Murphy. Kate Patterson Murphy. If you could tell us about the agenda item in question.
Well, I believe it did have something to do with Ms. Datesh's permit. At the time, her permit had been revoked for violations of the Street Artists Ordinance, and this is some time ago, but they did kind of go around and around, and the question, and they did end up revoking it, but I think that they had to have another hearing whether or not to reinstate it. But she was asked to testify on her behalf during this hearing where they were deciding to revoke her license, and that's when she was in the hospital, and which also happened to correspond with the city attorney trying to serve her with a restraining order. So she was in the hospital during that time, so that did not happen, and so she wasn't at the meeting. And I just want to say that she has been allowed to get a new license. She has not yet been into the office to make that transaction, but she has been given her permit status back.
DCA 3?
Through the chair, you can see, I think, on your screens that this item is about whether to, grant Ms. extend, or it's about her permit. It's an action about whether she's going to have that permit in the future.
Exactly, yes.
So that makes Ms. Ditesh a party to the matter, and like matters that the Board of Appeals say, or matters where revocation of a permit is at issue, it's a hearing where there are parties to the matter, and when there are parties to the matter and a decision is going to be made that's going to affect their interests, they can give testimony, they can submit evidence in support of either position. But just as Ms. Ditesh is a party to this matter here and therefore will not be offering public comment on this item, she would be a party to the matter at issue at this committee and therefore would not be offering public comment there either.
Member Washburn?
So through the chair, I'm trying to understand this. So the whole matter of attaching public comment to the end of the minutes is irrelevant to this matter. But how, if someone is not present who is a party to a hearing and submits materials for the hearing, how are they treated? How should they be treated in the meeting packet, or give us some guidance here.
To the chair, that's not actually an issue of sunshine. That's an issue of fair and due process for the parties to a permit. The materials certainly should be included with that matter so that they get their due process, but that is a different issue.
Okay. Anyone else? Member Pillow?
So on that point, I think the due process concerns are not really before us because they're not really sunshine complaints. They're really properly before the Arts Commission as to whether or not they followed their internal procedures for how permits are granted, revoked, or adjudicated. Is that correct?
Through the chair to Member Pilpel, the issue of due process and a hearing at a committee meeting is not a matter that's within the subject matter jurisdiction of the task force. It's not something that's governed by sunshine.
Okay. Nor is my comment earlier about sending minutes to the library pursuant to Chapter 8 of the Admin Code, correct?
If what you're saying is that would be a violation of that section of the Admin Code, then that's correct. That's also not within the purview of the task force.
I mean, the Commission is reminded of their responsibilities there, but that's, I think, all we can do. So if we still have the question of whether the full Arts Commission minutes were created and made available within 10 days of the meeting, if that's still within the ambit of the complaint, we could either find a violation on that or not. Yes?
Certainly, yes.
So I think to the body, if that's where we're at, we could either find a violation there, which I think that Ms. Patterson-Murphy has already acknowledged, and send this to one of the committees for follow-up, or we can not find a violation now, note, as we have on the record, that they were behind and that they are either on track or getting on track, and not belabor the matter further. I think those are at least two of the choices before us.
Thank you, Member Pilpel. Member Washburn?
I'm leaning towards finding a violation of 67.16 for the delay in posting the minutes, but letting it go at that. I mean, I think it's important for our task force to have a record that's consistent, and so I don't recommend we do anything with that. I don't see any reason to follow up further since we're hearing that the Arts Commission has recognized that they have a problem, have been working to solve it.
I would second that motion.
Okay.
You want to do that as in the form of a motion? Because it sounded like a second.
Yes. Yes.
Did you get that, Mr. Clerk? Why don't you reread that for us?
Motion to find the Arts Commission in violation of 67.16 for delaying the posting of meeting minutes. I do not have a specific set of minutes listed, but meeting minutes in general.
Well, we could specify these meeting minutes, since these were the ones that were late, and as part of the reason we have the matter before us.
I think the Full Arts Commission of May, June, July of 2013, something in that range.
Okay.
I think we have some evidence to that end.
March,
Fine, but
April, May, and June of 13.
All right.
Okay, yeah, let's go with what was on the complaint, which I don't have in front of me.
Yeah, I'm happy.
DCA 3, do you have some?
I'm just going to note that when the motion is completed, that it would be advisable to note at this time whether there are any members of the public and whether there will be public comment.
I'm getting to that. It's on my form. Has that motion it's been seconded? Okay, so for the record, there are no members of the public in the gallery, only the complainant and the respondent, so there will not be any public comment.
I can give you the exact dates if you want.
Have those? That would be helpful.
I will be using the dates listed on the complaint form.
Okay.
April 1, May 6, April, May, June 3, and March 20.
Madam Chair.
Yes, Member Nee.
Commenting on the motion and the issue at hand, I certainly sympathize with Ms. Paige Ritchie, the fact that she was overstretched, overworked, but that is not an excuse for the tardiness of posting the minutes. The buck here should stop with Mr. Lazar. Mr. Lazar was, I'm guessing, was aware of that situation, and I think in that case it would have been up to him to find a way to make sure that the minutes were posted in timely fashion, and perhaps this matter should go to the Education, Outreach, and Training Committee so that he can be made aware of that fact, and going forward, when this situation arises again, he'll know that he should take care of it.
So,
We need a roll call vote first. I determine where it goes after that.
I'm not talking about that. I'm speaking to Member Nee's point. Let's be clear that Mr. Lazar is the director of the Street Artist Program. He's not the department head. He's not the director of Cultural Affairs. The proposed or the motion would find a violation about the Arts Commission, the Full Arts Commission, of which Mr. DeCaney is the department head and Ms. Paige Ritchie is the commission secretary. So I hear what you're saying, Member Nee, but I think your comment is slightly misplaced in that Mr. Lazar is not responsible for the delay of the minutes of the Full Arts Commission.
I stand corrected.
All right.
But then, to whom does Ms. Paige Ritchie answer?
The commission, the Arts Commission.
Directly to the commission.
She's the
DeCaney.
She is an appointee. She is appointed by and may be removed by the Arts Commission only.
She does not answer to the director?
She works with, but she does not. She formally reports to the Arts Commission.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. There's nothing else. Can we get a vote on the motion? Can you reread it, just so I know which?
Yes. On motion to find the Arts Commission in violation of 67.16 for delaying in the posting of minutes for the April 1st, 2013, May 20th, 2013, May 6th, 2013, and June 3rd, 2013 minutes. On that motion, Member Nee. Aye. Nee, aye. Member Washburn.
Aye.
Washburn, aye. Member Pilpel.
Aye.
Pilpel, aye. Member Sims.
Aye.
Sims, aye. Member Highland.
Aye.
Highland, aye. Member Oka.
Aye.
Oka, aye. Vice Chair Fisher.
Aye.
Fisher, aye. The motion passes.
Okay. So with that, it's in, the whole idea of this and the goal here was to get it in the record. I do not see any need to send this to another committee and drag everybody through this all over again. Mrs. Patterson-Murphy, you can assure me that the minutes have been caught up and that we'll be following through with them, and because if they're not, we're going to see you here again. So I think that we've spent enough time on this that, and Ms. Datesh, I hope you feel whole on
I
this.
don't enjoy spending time here repeating the same thing over and over again. However, the July minutes have not posted in a timely fashion. That's just last month. So there's another complaint pending. I mean, I go before the commission every...
We'll still be here next month and the month
I
after,
know,
so it's in the record.
I
and
understand.
Mrs. Patterson-Murphy will take care of this for us, and Member Pilpel, you have
I'm not going
a minute.
to object to not sending it to a committee. It's our usual practice to send it one place or the other. If we want to depart from that practice and not do that in this case, that's okay. I just think, assuming that our rules permit it, and we're thinking about that. If we're not going to, I think at a minimum, we should include in the order of determination a reminder to the commission of their obligations to timely post and to do all the things that they're supposed to do in lieu of holding a hearing, to just do that same thing.
DC3, did you have something?
Yeah, through the chair. To the extent, ordinarily the referrals are at the discretion of the chair. To the extent there would be a referral that's required, that would be a part of a motion that would be made by the task force and passed by a vote of the task force. Similarly, to the extent there's some specific matters that you would like included in an order of determination, that should also be a part of the motion.
Do you want a motion, something in the order?
For example, if you would like findings of fact and orders, as I've previously advised, that should be a part of a motion. And if you want specific admonitions to the respondent, that should be a part of the motion.
Can I make a suggestion?
No, I don't think so. No. No.
I don't feel a need for formal findings in this case. I guess I am just providing my comment to you as the person who's going to review or sign off on the order as to some content that we might include in lieu of sending it to a committee, which is our normal course of business. That's all. I think the motion is fine, and there's sufficient content in the motion to things that we need to do.
The reason I'm not referring this is Mrs. Patterson-Murphy has said, we are caught up, they are there, not we're going to. Is that correct, Kate, that we're there?
I checked today, and...
You want to come up?
No, I can hear him. Go ahead.
We need it on the record.
Oh, I'm sorry, on the record.
I did a quick check this afternoon on the online minutes, and they looked up to date. I looked specifically at the months that were part of this complaint, and they appeared to be up to date. I didn't specifically. I don't recall checking this particular month, so I don't know if we are late again in January. I just don't know. That's the honest truth. But I did specifically check the months in question, and they were online.
Okay. Well, hearing that they are there, not they're going to be there. They are there.
I'm sorry, they're not there. All you have to do is go online and see.
Okay.
Anyway, I'm sure we'll be back again.
Ms. Datish, have a seat. We're going to finish this. Are we done with this one?
This item has concluded.
Okay.
We made the motion and it has passed.
Okay. Bring us home, Mr. Clerk.
Item number 6, file number 13040, complaint filed by Paula Datesh against Sharon Page Ritchie, Arts Commission, for allegedly violating Sunshine Ordinance 67.6G, conduct of business, thereby failing to post a canceled meeting notice for the Arts Commission on August 5th, 2013, in a timely manner.
Okay. Ms. Datish, have a seat. We're not there yet. I believe both parties have accepted jurisdiction. I just need a motion from the task force.
So move.
Second. I've got a second. And
There are no members of the public in the room. Is there any objection to the motion to find jurisdiction?
seeing none, let's move forward. Okay, so now we've got the complainant. You have, come on back up. You have 5 minutes to make your case on file number 13040.
Okay, There was a meeting of the Full Arts Commission August 5th, 2013, in the room on the corner there, 416. I waited in front of the door between 2:15 and 3:15. The meeting was at 3 o'clock. No meeting agenda was posted to the left of the door, and the doors never opened. I went into the clerk's office to confirm that there had been a cancellation. Nothing, they said no, they didn't know anything about it. I went into the basement to the Mint Cafe where Commissioner Chu was asleep. I asked him, did he know anything about a possible cancellation? He said, no, nobody told him. So I came up again, looked on the door. There was no notice of a cancellation to the left of the door or on the door. The doors were not open. It was about 3:30. So I walked over to the Arts Commission offices. I don't do it often because you can see in every response of the Arts Commission, it always has, you always got to slip in something about stalking, harassment, this and that, things that don't exist, and that's their response when they don't have a response. Okay, so I went over to the Arts Commission offices, signed in could have been about 4 o'clock. Walked up there, nobody was in this, it's an ante-room, about like this, and then their offices are to a door over there, and you're supposed to know by osmosis not to walk in that door. There's no sign. Okay, nobody was there, but an intern came out and he said, I don't know anything about a cancellation. I don't know anything about it. Oh, okay, well, how do I pay a permit? I don't know. Why don't you come back later? So I waited in front of the building there for about an hour saying to myself, what is going on? So that night, I sent an email to the commission secretary noticing her that she didn't post a cancellation. I sent it at 6:15, I believe. I even walked over here again. It was about 6 that night. I walked and looked at the door. No notice, nothing, doors never open. I believe it was the next day. I got something from her saying that an intern took a photo of the door and of the board to the left, and a couple days later I got a photo of a door. Didn't say where it came from, who the intern was, what the date was, or what the time was, but and I included it in the packet. It could be any door. We don't really know. So I am saying that what is going on here? We don't know. I monitored their website. It was a weekend, the entire weekend, waiting for something to come up, a notice of a cancellation or something. It wasn't until the following Monday, that this posted on their website, September 9, for a meeting on August 5th. I don't know what it means, but I printed it out August 6th. I don't know. August 6th, the meeting was August 5. That's what I saw on the internet. So again, walked over to the public library, though it's not in your jurisdiction, no notice of a cancellation is on file with the public library, as well as the minutes of that entire year, as you know, and in the public meeting binder, I was careful to pull full commission meetings for the past 3 years. There have been many cancellations and none are on file, though that's not on your jurisdiction. So in your packet, you see me kind of making a paper trail saying it's this time and I don't see anything going on here. So dates and times, there's nothing funny about this, and if you bother to look at these photos, the 2 photos I got, well, the commission secretary is saying, I printed out the photos. Well, she printed them out from the website. Where did the photos come from? Who took them? And when did they take them? What time? Krill says, here's the photo on the door. Richie says, here's the photo on the door and on the board. You know, what is going on? It's just another Arts Commission thing. So in my complaint, I'm saying conduct of business because the public has a right to know. I was there personally, standing in front of the door. I had no clue until Monday, really, 3 days later, what was going on.
Thank you, Ms. Datesh. Mrs. Patterson-Murphy?
Can I just have 1 minute to clear Mrs. Datesh's stuff from here so I can organize my things?
Yeah, don't start the clock yet, Victor.
Thank you.
Just note there are no members of the public to speak on
Oh,
behalf
gosh,
of the...
thank you. Yes, there are no members to offer facts and evidence because there's nobody else in the gallery.
Thank you. Kate Patterson, Director of Communications, San Francisco Arts Commission. I'm here on behalf of the Arts Commission and Ms. Paige Ritchie. This complaint epitomizes Ms. Datesh's abuse of the Sunshine Ordinance. There is absolutely no violation here. The facts are as follows. We lost quorum for our full Arts Commission meeting a little over an hour before the meeting, and I have provided substantial evidence with documenting a timeline that illustrates our response. Ms. Paige Ritchie conferred with the Director of Cultural Affairs and the Deputy Director of the Arts Commission to let them know that we had lost quorum. She then posted at 2:10, approximately 2:10, she posted the cancellation online and dispatched our intern Michael to go and post the notice on the door or near the door or on the door of where we usually have our commission meetings. We provided you in our response with screenshots. Here is the screenshot that shows that it was canceled on August 5th. And the time of that cancellation, you'll see that it is 2:05. So again, the commission meeting usually starts at 3, and this is in line with what Ms. Paige Ritchie said in her response to Ms. Datesh, is that we found out a little more than an hour before the meeting that we lost quorum. Here's a picture of the notice on the door that our intern took when he went to go post it, and Mr. Datesh claims that she doesn't know which door it was posted on. It could have been any door. Well, if you look next to the door, it says room 416. So that's the door, and that's the room we usually have our commission meetings in. And here is another picture of the cancellation notice, and you can see right here, it has the correct date. In the copy that Ms. Datesh provided you, she has the September 9th date at the top. Well, if you look at the top, you can see that she printed that out on September 9th from the internet. So I don't know how she did that. I can't speak to that. But I really think that if you as a body or if you had a review committee had looked through these materials and saw our response to Ms. Datesh, you would see the utter fallacy of her complaint, and I hope again that we can really have a true mediation process before we all waste our collective time and sanity in engaging in her runarounds. And we at the Arts Commission do not like legitimizing this behavior or being a party to it. So again, I encourage you to look at what's before you, and you'll see that there is no violation. We absolutely acted quickly in noticing the public that the meeting had been canceled. Thank you.
Can we both have a seat? I'm a little uncomfortable.
I would like to see those documents because I can show you.
Okay, hold on, Member Pilpel. I need you to both just kind of have a seat here. So we have completed, the respondent has completed. Again, for the record, there are no members of the public to introduce facts or evidence. So now we move to task force members to question the complainant, the respondent. Who wants to start? Clearly, Member Pilpel, you would like to start.
I just would like to know the information that Ms. Patterson-Murphy just put up on the screen. I'm not seeing that in my packet. Can you tell me if it's in the packet, and if not, where is it? Because that's, helpful stuff. I've been through these several hundred pages now a few times.
Yeah, I didn't see it either.
Can somebody help me with this? I mean, I saw a photo of the thing on page 69 of the packet, but the stuff that Ms. Patterson Murphy just showed, I don't have that. Was that provided to us?
We sent it along with our response.
Can you find it in the binder? Have you seen this?
It was provided in my materials, not in this packet though, but I did see copies of that.
DCA 3?
Through the chair to Member Pilpel, when the DCAs get the materials, these are the materials that are submitted through email by the parties. This comes before the agenda packets are created. So I cannot
You're
speak.
not getting it directly. You're getting it from Victor?
They are forwarded. There are emails that go from the parties to Victor, and they're forwarded to, or the administrator, and they're forwarded to the DCAs. So I can't really speak to how the agenda packets are created or whether those are in there or not.
But it should be an attachment to an email that we've got somewhere, yeah?
Yes.
Yes, all items that are received via email are placed into the file and photocopied for the packet.
Okay, and this was an attachment to an email? Okay, I don't think we saw the attachment. I don't know if any other members have seen this for tonight. And I'm not even sure that we saw the email that this was attached to. So I don't know where it is, but it wasn't before us tonight. So, you know, we'll consider it some way or other, but having a hard time with this. I'm trying to be fair to both sides here, right? You know, this is all kind of
Let's
messy.
let everybody look at it. Yeah, I mean, if this is maybe a
And
clerical
sorry.
error, or...
And just so we're clear, hold on a second, just so we're clear that I'm an equal opportunity pain in the butt, page 203 of the packet, the city attorney memo, again, I would caution Mr. Cola, on the continuation pages, can we not put privileged? You know, the other memo was good. This one still has privileged on there. So I'm actually reading this stuff.
Let me clarify. What is it that you're... Page 2, we'll be right with you, Kate.
They got it.
Page 2 of
On the
3?
city attorney memo, it's not a privileged memo.
Okay, got it. All right. Ms. Patterson, did
We
you
all need
have
to do
something you
better
wanted
here.
to...
This is the letter that we
tell the whole task
so,
force.
I am just, in addition to the printouts, I just passed to the task force with the images that were taken. Those were included with the letter we sent to Ms. Osbury on August 8th, 2013, basically our rebuttal to the initial complaint, and we included those documents.
So, Mr. Clerk, we've got a 162-page packet. Are we sort of missing the
Hold on.
Hold on, Ms. Ditesh. Are we missing the substantive pieces of evidence that Mrs. Patterson Murphy is?
Put every document into the file before creating the packet. If item is missing, I apologize for that.
Nah, it happens. It's not the end of the world. We wouldn't be here if it was. Okay. Having said that, has everyone had a chance to review what Ms. Patterson showed us? Okay.
I didn't get a copy of this, and the email from the intern was not attached the way she said it was.
Do you have one now?
I've never seen that before.
Yeah, and it's not, and the stuff is in the wrong file.
All right. Well,
Was this the cover letter?
I think we can get our...
We have not seen this
I
ever.
haven't seen it before either.
This is I'm now holding an August 8th, 2013 letter from the Arts Commission to Ms. Osbury relative to this. This isn't anywhere in the packet.
This
I'm happy to
complaint
share.
was originally numbered 13050, so that could not have been sent under complaint 40 on the 5th. Well, it could not have happened, and I have not seen this before. All they're suggesting is that an email was sent on this date and time, and again, she's referenced 13040, where on this date of August 5th, there was not even a complaint. This was originally complaint 50. Then we're going to the photos. What we're having here is a date and time stamp of a printout of a page in a computer. This could be any day that that photo was taken of that door. We don't have a date and time stamp on that. And the same for this page 3, the notice of cancellation.
Ms. Datesh, hold up a second. Let me.
Here on mine, you see August 6th.
Go ahead. Mr. Threet?
Yes, through the chair, may I suggest to the task force that with the lack of these being provided apparently to the complainant as well as members of the task force, there's a real issue as to whether either party can receive appropriate due process in this hearing, and you might wish to consider continuing the matter until they can be included in the packet and that Ms. Datesh has an opportunity to look at them.
Member Harlan? And then Member Sims.
Through the chair to DC3, if they both agree to carry on and review it now, would that be appropriate?
Through the chair to Member Highland, certainly any party can agree to a process, whether they might have considered it to at the time or not. If they're both willing to proceed, then that's acceptable.
Hang on, I've got 2 more questions. I'm going to go. Member Sims was first.
I mean, I'm fine with that if we want to move it back, but the evidence against Ms. Datesh, unfortunately, is kind of compelling to me in such a way that I don't know how she can overcome that. So, I mean, we can postpone it and move it back. But I mean, I don't think
I've got you.
The odds are in your favor.
Member Washburn.
We don't have an actual copy of the letter in the packet, but it is verbatim in the memo.
Yeah.
And so I read, when I was preparing for today's meeting, I read the memo and read the letter. So I saw the reference to the photos. The explanation for why the meeting was canceled when they knew it was going to have to be canceled and so forth. So other than the photos, I had everything in the letter.
CA3?
Yeah, through the chair. It's true that the memo does concisely and accurately relate what the evidence was. The qualification I give is that a recital of what the evidence is not the same as viewing the evidence itself.
So,
go ahead, Member Pilhill.
Okay. There clearly are some procedural problems and issues here. I think we can either press on ahead to Ms. Datesh. Would you contest our moving forward tonight, or do you want to request a continuance based on where we are?
Not unless these photos show a date and time stamp, and unless the person who sent or took the photos actually walks in the door here and says, yes, I did this and did this.
Well, that's not going to happen tonight.
It's not going to happen. What we have is, I'm not going to spell it out to you guys.
The threshold question is whether or not to press on tonight.
Go forward tonight.
So you're not going to object. You're going to waive any procedural objection.
They're not going to walk in the door and say, here are the photographs with the date and time stamp. We know that. That's not going to happen.
Okay, so to Member Sims, I think we got a knowing waiver.
DCA3, is there some way, I want to make sure that both parties see both sets of evidence. Can they take a break and do that, or how does this work?
Through the chair, you can take a break if you wish, so Ms. Datesh can examine it. I believe that she has reviewed them. If you may wish to ask if she would like additional time.
Would you like to review them, Ms. Datesh?
Yeah, I'd like to see them
Do
and
we
be
have
able
enough?
to point out to you errors in this rendition.
More like 3 minutes.
Okay, let's take a 3-minute break.
Okay, so why don't you take 3 minutes? It's now 7:11.
An email that was what delivered the cover letter, which I passed forward along with the images. So that is, I believe, the missing evidence.
And the cover letter also.
Okay, so we're going to all stop talking for 3 minutes.
Do you need the cover letter?
Yes. No, Ms. Datesh, the cover letter was in the memo, so you should have read that. So you have that.
Do we have a copy of the cover letter,
I handed it
guys?
to somebody. I don't know.
There it is, the cover letter.
Okay, let's get
Member Nee, Member Sims, can you please walk that cover letter over to Ms. Datesh? And we are literally, nobody on this task force is going to talk for 2 minutes.
Here's the original. You cannot say that I altered anything.
You're vice chair. Nobody say anything. Okay, I'm going to reconvene at 7:16. Continuing on with item number 13040, I believe. I'm going by memory here. Ms. Datesh has had some time to review the materials that Mrs. Patterson-Murphy has shown us all. And where did we leave off? Okay, we're still at task force members can question. Does anybody have any other questions before we move into the rebuttals and conclusions? I have no other questions. Okay, so now we have the respondent first, and then the complainant get 3 minutes to offer your rebuttals and conclusions.
Well, I want to express my gratitude for your decision to just sort of power through this so that we don't have to come back and revisit it. So thank you very much. I think that we have provided a clear timeline and substantial evidence that basically demonstrates that we followed protocol and did everything right with regard to publicly noticing the cancellation of the meeting in a very short time frame. So thank you for considering the evidence.
Okay, Datesh, come on up.
Okay, I don't believe these documents to be credible. In the cover letter dated August 8 to Ms. Osbury, she notes that she is attaching an email from an unnamed intern. He posted the notice of the cancellation to on the board, on the door, and on the board outside their offices. Whoa, late evidence. Whoa. Okay, so the photograph we have is one of a door. So again, this is not the original evidence. It's not the photograph. It's a printout of something of an undetermined origin, since we weren't given the name of the intern. And this meeting cancellation is a printout and not the original photo, so we don't know when the photo was taken. With regard to this, I don't know what you call this thing, that was when she sent me an email. This was not when it posted on the website. I can corroborate that in the packet with the emails I got from Paige Ritchie. This was not the posting of the cancellation. In mine, you see a printout on their website, which was printed out on the 6th of August. Clearly on the bottom, this has not been altered in any way. It came from their website. I don't know what the September 9th means on the top, but I can tell you that's when I printed it out. That's what showed as far as that. So I'm asking you, since this is a repeated notion of theirs, and you can see the hostility of this woman and the fact that she continues to hammer away at me personally, which really used to bother me, but I kind of surmised that's because they're at fault and they got no other defense. So here we go.
So,
what more can I say?
She has more time.
For her to stand up here and say we're not going to do it again, somehow I don't believe it. Thank you. So you got one photograph, not two. You got a printout, not the original photographs. We don't know where they came from, who took them, and Paige Ritchie wasn't there because I was standing in front of the door. Okay, thank you.
So now comes the time where I ask, does any members of the task force want to make any kind of motion? No. Does anybody want to make a motion? You can discuss if you'd like. I'll start out the discussion for the first time ever. I think this just comes under, under the Remember those bumper stickers where it said, "Stuff happens"? Stuff happens. I mean, trust me, we've all been there. We've all been in a situation where, oh darn, we don't have quorum. I mean, it's unfortunate. There's a lot of meetings going on. There's a lot of commissions in this building. A lot of us are in a lot of them, in and out of this building all the time. I think this was an unfortunate situation. I don't really see, we see a lot of violations in this room. We see a lot of them every month. I don't really see this being one of them. I see it being sort of unfortunate, and Ms. Datesh, whose name I can never pronounce, I'm sorry, I get it. I've been in your situation. You take the time off, you're getting there for a meeting, it got canceled 55 minutes before. I get that. I understand that. And I'm sorry that you had to go through that. No, you can't really respond right now. But that's where I am on this. Member Pilpel?
I tend to agree. There was no action taken. There was no meeting in the absence of a quorum. It appears from the evidence that we got that actions were taken to provide a cancellation notice to the web at the meeting location. It appears to me that 67.6G was complied with. So I'm failing to see any violation there. I go to a lot of meetings. Sometimes when meetings are canceled, you show up and it's at the last minute, and that's unfortunate. There was a meeting yesterday over at MTA that got canceled, lack of a quorum. They were able to call me like 45 minutes before, so I didn't have to schlep down for it. That's great. That doesn't always happen. Sometimes you go to a meeting and it's canceled. So, had there been some action taken in the absence of a quorum, that would be a completely different problem. That's not the case here. It appears to me that the Arts Commission did everything reasonable and necessary, and I don't find that there's a need to take an action.
So I'm just going to jump in here, given that there's no motion and there is no one in the gallery for public comment, unless we have member Nee's hand up, or I was just going to look that way.
I'm not going to offer a motion, but I do want to make kind of a cautionary comment to Ms. Patterson-Murphy, and that is that I don't think it's up to you, and I don't think it's up to us to question Ms. Datesh's motives for filing complaints. It is her right.
Thank you. Member Washburn, did you have anything? I'll look to my left now. Anybody else? What? There is no public comment, as there is no one other than the complainant and respondent. So, Victor, Mr. Clerk, why don't you finish us off here?
If there is no motion, the item is concluded.
Okay, so item 7.
Item 7, announcements, comments, questions, and future agenda items.
Madam Chair?
Yes, Member Lee.
A couple matters. First of all, the Society of Professional Journalists Northern California chapter will hold its annual James Madison Awards dinner on March 20th. This annual dinner honors champions of the First Amendment and freedom of information. And information will be available at SPJ NORCAL, that's spjnorcal.org. Second item I have, I'm sure everybody in this room is aware that there's legislation in Washington that would fast-track the presidential authority to negotiate a so-called Trans-Pacific Partnership. I am not speaking for or against the proposed partnership. However, I have serious problems with the secret manner in which negotiations are proceeding. I don't think that when they are setting policy that is going to affect all of us as consumers, as voters, as citizens, that they have the right to do this out of the public view, and I would strongly urge each and every one of us to contact Senator Feinstein, Senator Boxer, and our House representative, whether that's Representative Speer or Representative Pelosi, and urge that they oppose the fast tracking because it continues secrecy.
Member Pilpel?
I don't have anything nothing nearly that highfalutin, just something a little more mundane. Apparently, the biennial sunshine training and ethics training that's provided by the City Attorney's Office has been scheduled for Tuesday, February 25th at 6 o'clock in the Norse Theater, Norse Auditorium. I don't know if we've gotten a memo on this yet.
I haven't seen anything.
No?
Yeah.
Okay.
At 6 o'clock p.m., right?
Yes.
February 25th?
Yes.
Don't we have a meeting that day?
Probably.
Yeah, I think we do.
Yes, we are scheduled for a meeting that day.
Yeah, so that's problem number one. Problem number two, this training that's required under the ordinance, 67.33, I think, is supposed to be done in coordination or in conjunction with the task force. We were not consulted about the date, the content, anything about it, and apparently this is a joint production of the City Attorney's Office with some help from the Ethics Commission, who also wasn't, largely consulted on this. So I just wanted to raise publicly some concerns about how that process went down. That was not Mr. Threed or Mr. Cola or anybody in that side of the world. It was the government team and however those things happen in Executiveville over in the City Attorney's Office. But I just wanted to express very strongly my concerns that the timing, content, manner of presentation about this training that's pretty fundamental to a lot of things should have been run through us, my committee in particular, but the task force in general. And I only got wind of this because I talked to people. It's not like anyone came to us and said, hey, we're thinking about doing it on this date, and here's who we would want to present, da-da-da-da, here's the content that we did in past years, et cetera.
So
Anyway,
should we be, well, no, you brought up a good point. Should we consider changing our February 25th meeting?
well,
No?
if it's not
Right.
too late, maybe we should put on the agenda for next week consideration of that date.
Can you
We could probably
jot
throw
that
that on.
Be at the discretion of the chair, we could not schedule anything for that day. Actually,
Is it too late?
We also need to find out when and where it's based.
we can't place this item on the agenda for next week.
Let's do this. Let's dump it on Kit. Let's put it on the agenda for the February 5th meeting. We can discuss it because our
No.
got 3 weeks. Because we've determined the special
No,
meeting.
the agenda
What?
for the February 5th meeting, we could still throw that on at the end? Hold on.
No, we got 72 hours.
Hold on.
I can still modify the agenda for next Wednesday.
Thank you.
Okay. And then we
Let's
can
let the
talk-
man who knows.
And then we can talk next week
Yeah.
about what we do about all that.
What will be the title of that agenda item, or do we need an agenda item?
Let's call it an agenda item. I don't want to lose it. I would call it February.
How about review of meeting schedule?
Well, but I'd be more specific. I would almost put
Review
something
of meeting
like,
schedule for February 25th, 2014, discussion and possible action.
I would call it
Sounds good.
February 25th schedule conflict with these, what's this thing called that they're doing, that you guys are
The
doing?
annual the Sunshine and Ethics Training, the
Call it
live Sunshine
February
and Ethics Training.
25th schedule conflict with live sunshine training, because I'd actually like to do the live training instead of staring at my computer for 3 hours.
Well, and if there's a way to write it
I
more
do.
broadly, so if we want to send a letter to the city attorney protesting the way it went down, maybe we could do that next week. I don't want to get into the substance. I just wanted to raise the issue. You got it, you heard it, thank you, have a nice day.
Well,
I'm done.
Well, what's substantive about it? Why do I have such trouble with that word? I see you, Mr. Oka. What is that if something is going on and we can't go because we're in our task force, I would like us to have that option. Member Oka, you had something?
Yes. Actually, I have a concern that's been brought up at many of our meetings concerning the amount of time that public gets to speak. And my reading of the ordinance regarding the time limit is that the public has up to 3 minutes to say their piece. However, that is not what's being taught at ethics and all the training that we receive from the city attorney's office. We have to solve that because Mr. Hartz and Mr. Warfield are correct. The ordinance does not say that we get to set the time. It says public speakers get up to 3 minutes. There's a conflict there. So we need to fix that.
And we agreed to talk about that at EOT.
GCA3?
Through the chair, I'd like to address this because it's come up repeatedly, and I have addressed it in the past. There's actually a Court of Appeals case directly on point on this issue that Mr. Chaffee brought against the Library Commission, where he made exactly this argument, and the Court of Appeals said, no, that is incorrect. That is at the discretion of the chair of the policy body, whether they get 3 minutes or less than 3 minutes, and juggling the other considerations for the time required for other matters on the agenda. And the Court of Appeals' reasoning was that if they wanted to say that it was only 3 minutes, it would say 3 minutes. You get 3 minutes. And so it's been decided, and it's been long decided. So the advice that our office gives is entirely consistent with that Court of Appeals decision.
2005 case that was cited in the memo. Yeah.
But I think we need to amend the ordinance to reflect that, because it does not say that in the text of our document.
We agreed to talk about this at EOT.
And that's why it keeps coming up.
Okay. And Victor, you've got that on our queue somewhere for EOT?
Okay.
Public comment?
There's, for the record, there is no...
There is.
Oh, there is public. Do you have any public comment? Oh, come on up. It's public comment. We're taking public
Can
comment.
anybody do this ethics training live thingy?
That I don't know. We don't know.
Don't know.
Ooh.
We don't know.
Well, that would be helpful,
Yeah, we should probably... Is there somebody that a member of the public could call to find this out? I don't think 311 would
City
answer
attorney.
it.
Try Jackson.
No.
City Attorney's Office.
Jack's
I don't get
resigned.
any response
Is
from
that
them. I
anyone?
couldn't even
Yeah,
get
he's
the
working
good
for a
government
PR
guy from
company.
them. I could not.
I'll
I tried.
Okay.
See if I can provide it.
Mr. Young has
How about
offered
we'll
to...
try to find out by next week's meeting?
Yeah.
And if you don't find out before then, we'll try to let you know next week if you're here at the meeting.
Thank you so much.
There you go.
So, do I call item 8 or do you call item 8?
Item 8, adjournment.
Do I just bang?
We are.
We are at...
Rick, have something?
Do you have something, Emily? Okay, at 7:34 p.m., I am adjourning the Sunshine Ordinance Task Force meeting on January 30th. Thank you very much. 30th, thank you very much.